sometimes. Get Justin.
This is
Go
the theme.
to Justin. Get Justin.
Well, I'd like Justin to never join EG. So.
I
Like,
told
not without
GG
the
to go
team
for
is.
him. You know.
Well, there
they
you
had
go.
so
So
much-
this is probably, I said, don't touch that team, Justin. It is.
Well, if he gets into this, if he was supposed to get in this team, then I would tell him no as well. But if I was actually hired to do some of the work in this team, wouldn't look like this.
Where can they find you, kassad? What's the best way to reach you?
They cannot find me ever again.
No, you're looking for work.
Well,
I'm trying to
they
put you over the
can't
job
find
here.
me. EG cannot find me ever again. The thing
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com. The best skin marketplace.
HLTV Confirmed Season 6, Episode 24, back in business, baby. Powered by Xtrfy headsets, keyboards, mice, pads, all your peripheral needs. Bitskins, buy and sell CSGO skins and items. N1Bet, gamble responsibly. And remember to head over to anchor.fm/HLTV if you want audio-only options for the podcast. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. Okay, the tournament break ends in 7 days. The Rio RMR Open first set of qualifiers starts in 8 days. Blast 4 groups start in 12 days. Pro League starts in 23 days, less than a month. We've got the RMRs kicking off in less than 2 months, 57 days, October the 4th, and then the major starting in 84 days for the challenger stage. So we are ending the player break in a week's time. Tournament break in a week's time, and we're bringing you all the action back. First show back since our little break. I guess it really wasn't that much of a break, was it, Striker? It was the 24th of July we did last one. Now it's on the 8th of August. So Are you even feeling rested?
Yeah, I mean, not that much has been happening since then, apart from, a lot of reporting, a lot of changes that we are pretty sure that are going to happen, but are still not official somehow 2 weeks later. So pretty chill, yeah.
Yeah, okay, chill. That's the word we're going to go with here. Prof, I got a question for you. What is the favorite noise you hear outside where you live?
Oh, mine, it's definitely the motorbikes.
The motorbikes?
And vrooming. I think that's like the thing that you really enjoy when you're like trying to sleep, have like a chill afternoon, for example, after a long night of watching demos, for example. And the guy is just like, it's a 50 kilometers per hour. Let's just use all of the 400 horsepower this little machine has, and just farts down the street.
So you like motorcycles? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's good. Well, that's good. I'm glad you like the sound. Now, someone who can hopefully get our engine started this evening is kassad, who's been very opinionated on Twitter lately, kassad. It's gone noticed, mate. We've seen the tweets.
Hey, good to be here, gentlemen. It was an interesting summer break. Definitely a lot of good things happen. Some of not so good things happen as well. We're going to talk about it today, but definitely a lot. We're heading into a very interesting period and a very interesting season, in just about, like you said, a week from now. We're starting with Blast, but yeah, a lot of things happen.
Yeah, maybe a couple of things we can pick your brain of as well as being a former coach. You know, some of these teams going back to practice, but that can all come as the show continues forward. Lucas, how are you feeling? It's very important that you're in a positive state this evening, ready to push all the buttons. Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still
Okay.
a bit sick after my trip, my party with HLTV.
Okay, so you had the action, and this is the reaction, not
Yeah,
feeling well because you drunk
yeah.
too much alcohol, didn't you, Lucas? Didn't drink enough water. Is that
It
what
was
happened?
a long one. It was
Yeah,
How
okay.
old are you?
23.
Yeah, he's still a baby. He's still. So the hangover shouldn't be too bad
Yeah,
from here. So let's see. We'll make this one nice and easy for you, Lucas. You ready? Roll the bumper, Lucas. All right, we're back. We're getting into the recent news immediately here. Now, the recent news. Actually, no, we're not getting into where I thought we were. We're getting into bloody Skinionaire. I was one step ahead of myself here. We're doing Skinionaire off the bat. Now, if you haven't joined us before, maybe you don't know what Skinionaire is. Welcome. Skinionaire is brought to you by our sponsor, Bitskins. It's a take on the game Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. And there are 5 multiple choice questions that Prof has devised. Our guest, Kassad, will be taking on the challenge tonight. Kassad, you have 60 seconds to answer each question. And each question you get correct will move the ticker up a notch for one of our lucky viewers at home to win a skin of that value. Do you understand and are you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's get stuck into this. Question numero uno. That means number 1 for those of you not as cool as me. What is the name of the organization that signed NA squad Timberman for 2 hours? Was it Slip Up FC, Tempest Gaming, or Blunder Esports? None of these. I want
to say Blunder Esports is Tempest Gaming.
Tempest Gaming? Okay, yeah. Confident there. I saw this pop up on Reddit. Was there much of a backstory to this, Prof?
I don't think so. Like I read through it. It was just like we did this, but we didn't want to. One guy did it. No one. He didn't tell anyone.
Okay.
Cool story, bro.
Strike, was that the story?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like a rogue manager who just like went off.
A rogue manager? They still on Counter-Strike.
Signed a team that
probably Misfits.
Hey.
Oh my god.
Has to be North America, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's what they do.
The Timbermen. I just think of a character called Hacksaw from Dota. Why would I? Is that
there
the
is
character
a Timbersaw in Dota?
That's what I was thinking.
That's the one.
Not Hacksaw. Hacksaw. Okay. Anyway, people at home are doing the right thing. They're spamming Bitskins. We got question number 1 right. Let's get into question number 2. What the fuck was that? That was Discord. Apex latest signing JL is from which Baltic country? Lithuania, Latvia, or Estonia? This one's got
Lithuania, right?
Bang on. Yeah, the more colorful of the flag. That's how I tell the difference.
That's
the educational system right here. Serbian one.
There's an alarm going off somewhere in Heku's room at this point.
I thought you were going to say of Australians because I know you spent a long time with them, but you went self-deprecating. I appreciate that, Kassad. Thank you for keeping me out of the crosshairs for now. You're smashing this. Let's get into question number 3. It's going to be hole in one right here. Which team did HexT play for before signing with EG? Was it Party Astronauts, Bad News Bears, or Carpe Diem?
I'm going to say Carpe Diem.
Bang.
Right?
Yeah, smashing it. Just absolutely lobbing them up.
Somebody's going to be loving me after this one.
Yeah, there'll be one very lucky viewer spamming Bitskins in chat right now. All right, question 4. We are flying.
Man, even I think this is being rigged. Like, what's going on?
It's not rigged because I just came prepared. Yeah, question 4. Which Finnish side had the highest finish at Assembly Summer? Was it Jarno, Kova, or Havu? Wow, fuck their team names. Am I right, guys?
Havu, right?
Well,
is it a good one?
Nope.
You can have Striker help you here.
Is that like can I call a friend or something? 50.
Yeah, I can tell you what the right answer is if you
Alu was involved in this one.
But
they lost to Kova, right? Yeah, okay.
Striker.
No. It's the first one. It's the Alu and the Twist team.
Jesus is that how Christ. They say it?
Twist team rather.
I don't know. That's how I'm saying it. Probably. I know it's correct. Okay. They made it into the final. You know who they lost to? Draken. He is back. He was playing with British team,
man.
With Adam over there. And that was it. Yeah, I was gonna say Maxi, but I think that guy's playing with Pith in Bleed. Over in Valorant. Yeah, exactly, right.
Cypher is on the team.
It's all blended together. Cypher. Okay. All right, there we go.
Not the agent.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
the player. The player. Thank you, thank you. All right, question 5. We're 1 away. That one was saved there. At which football stadium will the Fire League finals be held? I don't know how to say the first one. Camp something or other. Old Trafford or
Camp Nou, Old Trafford, or I can't think of the last one.
Alliance Arena.
I would say number
Allianz.
3, Allianz Arena.
I don't know the answer to this.
I don't know the answer as well.
It was in a headline.
I don't.
It's the first one.
Is Camp Nou?
Yep.
What the
Spain?
fuck is that?
That's
They
a
need the money,
Barcelona
man.
stadium.
It's a what?
The Barcelona stadium. Like,
Okay.
right?
I don't fucking know.
So basically, Camp Nou is the Barcelona stadium where they play, you know, the football club. The Old Trafford is Manchester United, and Allianz Arena is the Bayern Munich in Munich. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I know
Yeah,
nothing about football.
Exactly. It was just like a split right down the middle. 2 people who don't give a shit about football, and 2 people who apparently know everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. That's 5 from 5. It doesn't get better.
If it
than
was
that.
rugby, then obviously, Chad, you would know, bro.
No fucking idea, mate. I don't pay attention unless at the moment it's DayZ, which is the game of the moment for me, or Counter-Strike. I don't give a fuck. Army Potent CS, been following since 2019. Has won the $50 skin. Our people will reach out to your people, and that might go down as a historic Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire run, Prof. What do you think?
That was very good, very fast. Maybe not very accurate if he didn't get help, but
he had help.
That's why you're here, guys, to help.
There you go.
That is how it's supposed to go.
And there you go.
The skin.
That's very confident. That's most important at the end of the day, especially if you're an analyst. You just need to be confident, say things very fast, and move on.
And hopefully no one questions it.
Yeah.
And okay, so we smashed that. That was really good. That's what we wanted to do. Now, I want to move forward into a new segment I'm starting called Not News. This one will always go in recent news as Not News. Now, I'm going to send you the link right here, Mr. Lucas, and I want you to bring this one up for everybody at home. And we will quickly address, I'm going to skim over this because we're not going to spend time on it because it is not news. Here's a tweet that came out from a gentleman. He's a coach of a team. I am spilling so the producer can bring up the graphic on the screen so it makes sense with what I'm saying. It is definitely a Danish coach who used to coach over in the Academy League. Anyway, fuck it. This is just like being on broadcast. I'm stalling. It's never coming.
Are you talking about
that hangover?
There it is. Okay, IEM Rio 2022 RMR qualifiers. Question: is coaching allowed? Answer: no, coaching is not allowed. Cyclone he's had a swing and he's had an epic miss here because this has already been the case. We've known that there are no coaches for the online portions of RMRs since the first Road to Rio went down. Because after that, in August of 2020, so over 2 years ago now, all the coaching stuff happened with the scandal. And then we found ourselves with coaches being banned from majors and all the sanctions and all these extra reports. So this is not news because this should never have even gotten to Reddit. People should already know this. So this is not news. But we do have some actual news, some real news, because ESIC, they put out, so this is the
It's
Esports
actually also
Integrity
not
Commission.
news if you think about it. Actually, that's also not news.
No, this is
This is a subject.
Because they have adjusted the way that they have calculated their bans, right? Or their sanctions or whatever the fuck we want to call them.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, haven't they? Isn't that what happened?
That's kind of the what I'm saying. This is not really news because it doesn't actually affect anything on their side. They only did it in order to try to push Valve into, you know, changing their major bans because, you know, the way Valve took over the bans wasn't without those reductions that, you know, some of those coaches got because they had come forward, you know, to confess that they used the bug or maybe they helped with the investigation. And so these people got some sort of a concession or reduction of their ban by ESIC, but Valve didn't take this after them. They just banned people based on those demerit points by how many rounds or how many matches they actually had the bug in. And so like ESIC are basically trying to get Valve to address that, to adjust those bans. But, you know, a year and a half after the fact, maybe
I have the quote. I have the quote. Yeah, well, that's the problem too. This is from your article, but this is from ESIC's release they put out. ESIC has conveyed the results to Valve in the hope that the publisher would adjust their sanctions in line with the recalculation, but Valve's initial response indicates that they will not make that adjustment. And here's the thing, right? This is Valve went, oh, the community seems to trust ESIC as the body here to make sure that we have integrity, right, in Counter-Strike. Cool, we're gonna follow what they say and we'll make some judgment calls based off what they say. This is what Valve does. We know this. This is what they did with iBuyPower, right? They come in, they go bang. And once it happens, it's fucking bang. And they trusted ESIC. And guys, cop this now, kassad. Let's see if you're as old as me, mate. This term. Let's see if this term lands on you. It feels yuck, ESIC, right? Here's the term. I've got the ick for ESIC. Now, I want to make sure all of our viewers at home, do you know what ick means, kassad?
Disgusting.
Yes, but it is a modern dating term that refers to a sudden feeling of revulsion towards someone you're dating. The phrase's popularity quickly snowballed after Olivia Atwood used it in the 2017 series of Love Island, using the term to explain the breakdown of her relationship with Sam Gowland. Okay, now I've got the ick for ESIC. I'm a bit, I'm revolted by them at the moment, right? And I know there's nothing they can do here with Valve, but they kind of made this bed, right?
This is a universal feeling right now. So we have to go back at the start when it comes to all of this, right? Because all of this is basically nonsense, right? And ever since they started, let's go back to the start. We all need a governing body that's going to, deal with these infractions, cheats, match fixing, all these financial, stunts that organizations are pulling with the players and everything else that's happening. We need the sheriff, we need the police, right, to deal with these things. But they started doing the things completely backwards, right? So what they did is basically they arrested a guy, they sentenced him, put him to jail, and then a year later, they did a trial. So 6 months after that, he's released because he's innocent, one way or the other. But, when you look at it, that guy was fucked in the prison, literally and figuratively, and he goes back outside. And then he doesn't have a job, doesn't have a career, doesn't have anything, right? So we need to go back to the beginning and deal with something. So the idea that I had is like these big dogs, right? Blast and ESL and, PGL is now getting involved in CS as well. And this smaller like WePlay and other tournament organizers. How about we use Players Union, we use ESIC, and we get and we create some sort of a world esports association, where there are going to be rules, regulations, and laws and processes to deal with those type of things. So if you want to be a part of the World Esports Association and compete in these events, you need to be signing the paperwork, you need to be registering your legal organization, your sports club, your organization into the association. And of course, there is a question like, yeah, but if we are just a mix and we are just a bunch of friends, we don't have the organization. You register as a player. You comply with these rules, regulations, and laws and processes that are predetermined. And you say, yes, I accept the terms and I want to be playerless. So if I admit that I agree that I want to be punished and sanctioned by if I do a match fixing, if I cheat, if I do all these things, then we have it on paper right now. ESIC is digging the skeletons that are 7 years old right now. They're helping no one. They're chasing down players that possibly match fixed right now 7 years ago, and they're not even playing the game right now. And meanwhile, we have so much match fixing going on at this very day, not on the tier 1 scene, but at this very day everywhere around the world right now, and it's not being done. So like I said, I would regroup right now if I was ESIC and try, because like you said, nobody trusts them. You said you don't trust them. You feel like icky and everything. I think that's a universal feeling. I spoke to many players. I spoke to many people from the broadcast. I spoke to many people from organizations. They all feel the same way, and the community feels the same way as well, because they don't trust them. Their reputation is tarnished, is diminished, and nobody really believes they're doing the right thing. So if they get their stuff together, there's educated people there, educated people with degrees in law and everything right now, and they can do the work. They just need to do the right work. So starting from the task number 1 that I would give them is dealing with this player union and these transfer regulations with players, like from org to org. Right now, we have a couple of players in a high tier demand, I guess, that cannot transfer to other organizations because the organization that they're in right now, they're not letting them go. They don't want to sell them because they don't have the buyout clause, and they're hurting everyone. It's happening right now. I can't say the names, obviously, but it's happening right now. Some players cannot join other better teams, even if they want to. The other teams want to spend money on them, but the org is saying, no, you want to have a buyout clause, you cannot be there. So let's deal with that. Let's deal with the ongoing match fixing. Let's maybe invoke like a transfer window from for example 15th of July to 31st of August, right? And the 25th of December to the 31st of January, right? All contracted players must be traded in this area. Every free agent can come and go as they want, obviously, right? So there are things that they can do to make these things right instead of digging up skeletons that are 10 years old. Nobody.
We got some problems here with this, kassad. Like, you've opened a very broad can of worms here, right? Like, ESIC would have nothing to do with like transfer windows and shit. Like, I think the biggest thing to take away from what you're saying, and a thing that I think that we can probably all agree on to some degree, is the fact that we kind of need a bit of, there needs to be unity behind one collective body, right? Unfortunately for that, there are a lot of hurdles, money being one of the biggest ones, right? And this is the thing. People are going to have to swallow a little bit of humble pie to make what you're saying possible. And that's some of the issues, is people are not very good at swallowing humble pie, whether it's players, whether it's orgs, whether it's TOs, whether it's any of these bodies that have any power anywhere, right? Like, the good thing with ESIC was it was funded by these TOs initially, but was meant to be independent. The thing is, they've got into... This brings me back to an issue we have, right? ESIC, right? Well, the esports integrity. We need to Counter-Strike people. We need Counter-Strike specific. We need to move away from esport, right? We need to. I'm with you here. I don't know how you feel about this, Prof. But like, just to build on what kassad's saying, like, he's kind of like not burn it all down, but we should definitely restructure quite an ambitious projection here. But I would say the same with the CSPPA, right? Like, we had to go. Guys, we had to go at ESIC. We had to go at CSPPA. We need to try again. And maybe we could try again with all of these different things and bringing everybody together. Because players who are professionals, to have like a scaling pay grade to pay into a union, that's like how that should be done.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there needs to be like, they came up with the project quite ambitious to some degree, like, oh, we're going to solve all of these issues. We're going to tackle this and that. Like for ESIC, especially, like all of the match fixing, all of these things. But like almost nothing happened. Like what kassad said, like, oh, it's been 7 years. Like, what are we talking about? Like, you came in, we gave you like the benefit of the doubt, not even the benefits, like the trust that you need to do these things, but things aren't happening.
At least get the better representatives, right? Like somebody who can actually do something, because all of these players that are like board members, they are too busy playing, right? Yeah. It's like, you know, get some representative. Chris J is there, like people like, you know, who are semi-retired, like, I don't know, Freiberg, or, you know, I'm just spitting out names, right? People who are able to actually do something, right? And actually like deal and tackle some of these issues. Like we have CSPPA, for example, like they have this situation with a player who cannot transfer from one team to another. Like there needs to be, like, if he's in the players union, right? He needs to be helped by some sort of legal, you know, advice to see like how can this be avoided, and how can they successfully make the transfer and do good for him and for his career, right? Because that's what's the point of players union, to protect the players from situations like this.
We do need a body in place though for all of it, and this is the thing, like, who's to decide who has, you know, the best grasp on maybe not where we should be going, but how we should handle some of the issues that we have, right? And from people who have, you know, maybe managed a team, coached a team, played in a team, had any understanding of how these events are and the circuit, which is always evolving as well. That's another thing. We have to go back and do these like temperature checks of where we're at, because we're a constantly evolving beast. And we don't know where we're going to end up and where we're going to land, right? Like, there is always, everybody has to keep this. It's not something that I think is like will ever happen, but we have to think that it can happen, is that Valve any day they want could come and just say, nope, I'm taking the toy home, right? Like that is, at the end of the day, one of the powers that they have. And I think you're invoking like a part of me here, which is, you know, when I get on one of my, oh, we can fix things, everything can be greater good. Like, it really just does come down to all of these key players and parties coming together for the longevity of Counter-Strike esports, right? As opposed to the game, because the dev is the only one who can do that.
It's time to move from this clown show into the next level of esports. We don't want to be in the Stone Age anymore. Like, I mean, you agreed with me that I think everybody agrees that we need to have some sort of unified body, you know, with all this ESL Blast and whoever is like involved and whoever's going to come after and after those people, right? It needs to be unified. It needs to be, you know, at the model of, for example, FIFA or ATP or WTA or FIBA, you know, something like that can be, you know, much more structural, and in the end it would be beneficial for all the parties, and most importantly for the players right now.
Was the players as well?
So
The players are the ones who have to come together, right, Striker? If there's anybody, right, which do you think would have the most power? Because for me, like I think Kassad mentioned, like ATP, for example, if all the players came together, which I guess they can't because they're all contracted to orgs, right? They're not like tennis; they're not on their own. So I don't know. Do you think this is possible, Striker, or do you think we're maybe being a little bit? Well, we want something that'll be a positive change in the future. Do you think it's ambitious? Do you think it's possible?
I mean, I don't think it's possible across the board. Also, just because of different tournament organizers, like players are not gonna give up going to a major just because PGL is not an ESIC. For example, like that's just not gonna happen. And PGL is just clearly getting some piece of the pie from Valve. Getting some of these majors, and so like every time there's gonna be tournament organizers who don't maybe follow the same body, and you can say whether that's right or wrong. Like I don't really care about it. That's just going to happen, right? Because different TOs have different different priorities and stuff like that. And so there's who's going to bring them all together and say you have to do this. Well, obviously the only party who can do that is Valve, and that they haven't shown that they want to do that. That they want to tell tournament organizers what to do to that kind of a degree.
They don't really have to be super unified in everything. They just need to, like I said at the beginning, they need to set up some sort of rules and regulations and laws when it comes to different things that everybody will follow. Like it doesn't really have to affect them financially or anything like that. It's just something that we can all agree on and be under the same umbrella. You can operate individually as a ESL, Blast, or PGL on your own tournaments. You can get the majors, but there's some set of rules, like I said, regulations and processes that needs to be followed, similar to FIFA and ATP and FIBA right now. And that's the very next step of the evolution of esports, because there's a lot of money involved. And as soon as we get over that hurdle a little bit, everybody is going to be better. We are not going to struggle like this.
Yeah, but people are not going to agree. That's my point from the get-go. Like people are not going to agree on what the laws are supposed to be, or what processes, or like transfer windows and stuff like that. This has been a problem in Counter-Strike forever, and there's always going to have to be some sort of an overarching thing who has the authority to tell tournament organizers, okay, you have to do this, and then they don't really have a choice, right? And again, that's just not going to happen because Valve have never shown the capability or the willingness to get involved to that level. So I just think this is a dream world that we, at least at the moment, with the way that Counter-Strike is set up and with the way Valve approach it, is not possible.
All right, well, let's use this as a little bit of a jump off point. You said dream world. Well, let's get to the real world, which is where we've had a bit of announcement going on around the Rio Major and the RMR qualifiers and all of that system, right? I was reading out a bunch of numbers when we kicked off the show. I said 7 days until the tournament break ends and 8 days until the first Rio RMR Open set of qualifiers begin, right? So teams are already back at practice now. We're going to go through, this is going to be our common thread where we discuss a bunch of different roster changes that happened across all the different regions tonight, because this is the focal point of the evening, is to be able to look at the runway from this episode, what teams have been doing with the changes. Some teams are getting back at practice with boot camps, and you saw tweets from that. I think Hampus and Brolin said they were going back. I saw Nico going to Andorra or somewhere for a fucking boot camp. So same with OG, I think are going to Copenhagen. Teams are starting to get back underway with practice. So we want to kind of frame this, because if we went end of the year after the major, we all saw what happened in this first season. All of the results get a little bit weirder. So we may as well just go for the major, right? That's our runway for now. So the first set of qualifiers were announced. We just spoke about when they are. There's a whole bunch of different spots open for Asia, Americas, and Europe as far as the RMRs go. Was there any changes or big takeaways with this, Striker, that I may have missed, may have overlooked, or is this pretty much as we had to go down last time, besides the Copenhagen Flames dissolving situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really much change. There have been some dates like moved around a little bit, but essentially it's kind of the same thing. It just runs like this first stage of the qualifiers or qualifying process into the major is basically running until early September. It's going to be a couple of weeks. So, and from there, I think that just leads into some close qualifiers in some regions, I think, right? And then, we get to the actual RMRs, which are October, and then the actual major, which is November. So pretty much what we've heard so far.
Yeah, so just for everybody to catch up, for the major, we're looking for 2 teams from Asia, which is a 4-team RMR. We're looking for 6 teams from the Americas, which is 1 legend spot and 5 challenger spots of a 16-team RMR. And then we have 2 European RMRs broken up into different groups, both of 16 teams, both with 8 teams progressing to the next stage. I think that's about it, right? There wasn't there's nothing else really crazy to get. It's just it kicks off immediately, right? We're already on that runway as soon as these qualifiers online for different teams at different levels. So that's kind of cool. This is now I've set the box for this evening. Let's jump into it, I guess. Are you guys ready to get going with this?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Well, I guess off the bat, are we? Well, I guess we're never happy. We can always do things better. We'll save this one. Let's get in starting with one of the smaller regions because we can fly through this. We'll start with Asia. So I put who because I feel that's a good question. Who do we even have as contenders for this region? Because, and when I say contenders for this region, I mean just quite literally to get to the major, get some stickers, and then go home. Because you've got yourself Order from Australia, right? You have yourself alongside of them. There's like 2 other names. I think it's like Vertex and Encore. And then you've got like NKT, Rare Atom, Tyloo, IHC. I guess there's a team that comes from the Middle East qualifier. So NASA, I think I was having a look at the registration page for them today. For them, they have Almeza registered to play with them again. I think he played with them in some.
I think the only maybe difference that maybe Striker can fill me on this is that you can't really do what some of the teams did last time and like go to a different region and play the qualifiers. I feel like that can't happen anymore.
LFO did that, right?
Like
LFO did that. They played from Serbia in the
Middle East
region.
Yeah,
so I don't know
also played in the Middle East
for the small qualifiers, only for the big regions or something. But I know that there was some like update to it. I'm not really sure how it will affect some of these weirder cases.
I'm not actually sure what you're talking about. So maybe Chad knows.
No, there was you're talking about in the smaller region, right? So you're talking about exactly like the LFO situation.
I think so. I will try to find what
they had to get special exemption to play, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Lin Vision couldn't get the visas back for China.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened with LFO. How did they manage to play the Middle Eastern one? But they did play with the high ping. They didn't do so well. But I don't know about this event. I think it's not allowed anymore unless you have a special, situation. So they can allow you to do it. But I don't think any team is in a position that they cannot go back home or there's something special because world is just not like it was before when it comes to traveling, so it's much easier. So I don't think there is any issues there. But coming to Asia, we have like 4 teams battling for those 2 spots. Was it, Chad? And I think that's a very it's a shame, because I think 8 teams would be just enough, and I think it would be doable, and I think they have the manpower and the resources and even the infrastructure if needed. So, and the money is obviously there, so why not give 8 teams a chance to fight for those 2 spots? We have a lot of teams. Tyloo, IHC is the other team from Asia that they played the last major as well. They didn't do so bad, For me, they're right now the best Asian team. Not counting Order, obviously. I'm just counting the Asian continent, and I think they're the best team right now. Tyloo is close second. They had Letney as their coach, a European coach, so that can help them a little bit. And we have the Australians right now, Chad. The Order. We will talk about it later. They made a change as well, and they can be a dangerous team, and I think they have a decent chance if they bring, for example, Aaron. Or that backside guy, like you mentioned, they can have a decent chance in qualifying and getting that sticker money and trying to turn some heads or do something that's not being dead lost.
For me, it's also just disappointing that like you don't have 2 slots for China and 2 slots for Oceania to go to the actual minor, because like those 2 teams could technically be the 2 best from the whole region. And you only actually gets to go to the RMR.
It's very demoralizing for the whole Asian region, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like it's really just like putting a cap on, like, why would you now invest into like Australian CS when you already have like a super good team there? Like it's a domestic rivalry, hard to beat them. Why would you invest when you're probably not even gonna get to the Asian RMR? So you have almost no chances to actually qualify. It's really dumb. I don't know. I don't really like it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Hopefully and we spoke about this one on an earlier episode, right? So hopefully this is something where we can maybe get through and try and have this conversation for future majors and see what happens there. But let's discuss this change over there with Order. There's been a few other changes in the region, but this is the most recent. This one actually happened today. Hatz looks like he's been released from the team. Now they've only been in Order for about 2 months since the change from Renegades. It didn't go great for them in Cologne. They were pretty devastated after the loss, even though I thought that they looked much better there. They looked like they had more of a sense of idea than what they had in previous events a little bit earlier in the year. But this one, you have at least some kind of experience with the team kassad with Liaz. They've got rid of Hatz from the squad. Now, this way, you mentioned the two names there. They could get Azza to in-game lead, or they could get this Vexite kid from Vertex to come in, and he was already on order before to entry frag. What do you reckon they need more? A young, plucky entry fragger, or AaRON to actually show them how to play CS?
I think they need AaRON. I think AaRON has a lot of experience from all different regions, right? He played a lot of majors. He played in NA. He played with Australian players. He played with the young players, with the older players, with like all kind of different situations. He has a lot of experience in everything. I think it would be the right move for him. It would be the right move for more orgs than Order to get AaRON. AaRON is a 28-year-old IGL who is very role that's very wanted right now, you know, and he still has at least 2 years as a player and maybe 3.5 years as an IGL, definitely. And he has what it takes. He's aggressive IGL. He's a fragging IGL, and that's, you know, nobody getting him is such a waste. And I think if Chris Gomez, the GM of Order, at least didn't try to get him, it would be a shame, because I believe that, and I know AaRON, and you know AaRON, I think he wants to get back into the game. He wants to play the major. He likes to compete. You know how he is, very competitive person, and is him sitting on a bench all this time and not really getting anything. It's just such a shame, and I think he can bring a lot to this team, especially because he has a connection with Liaz. They played together. Liaz, who is now in a rough spot a little bit privately. He, as we saw on Twitter, his father passed away soon, and it's going to be that is a shock, and for a young kid like that. And I think he's going to need somebody, in the team, because they're going to be spending a lot of time together. He's going to be somebody familiar outside of Chris that's going to be helping him through all this and getting the best out of him and qualifying for the major. And I would say that if they get AaRON, they are 90% on the major.
But
yeah, I mean, do you want to go?
No,
go.
I was gonna pose a question to one of you here. But go for it, Prof. Pick it up.
I think this would be like for years now they've been just like stacking talent. They've been picking up like some like the next best player consistently. I feel like what they have been lacking for some time is an actual IGL. Like that is the upgrade that they didn't.
They lost Dexter.
In the last year and a half, or something like that. So that would be the kind of missing piece for me to get some faith in this roster again, because over the last year I feel like they didn't improve or really regressed, actually. So if they can actually get Azzer, that would be an insane signing, because as kassad said, like 2 major playoffs, has a lot of experience, and feels overqualified almost for this roster.
Free agent as well.
I think the biggest issue is, I just had a look, his last game was in October of 2021. Right? Like, we're coming up to the point where it's almost been a year since he's played an official. But that's the thing. Like, what do you do when you're a player in this kind of position, right? Do you do what like Smooya does and stream and make some mixes and play in these qualifiers? Like, or if you're somebody like AaRON, who's an in-game leader, and you need to work with a team and players and a coach and everything to get the best out of you, what positions are you left in here, right? We discussed, I think there was like a trio of A's. Like, I think we had Alex, Alexi, and Azza. Like, they're all in-game leaders. They're all different variations of available, depending on how big your wallet is or how many conversations you can have, right? But there's just and the thing is, like, AaRON's, the thing you take away from him in that conversation between those 3 names is the fact he hasn't been playing more recently. But at the same time, Alex and Alexi, we have been playing more recently, and it hasn't gone well for them either. So it's a bit of an interesting conversation, right? Like, what do you do? I think
it's just a good sign. It's worth the risk. I think if you wage like risk against reward, I think it's in a favor of reward, right? And I think there's a lot of value in getting AaRON in that lineup. I think, obviously, because there is a cultural side to it, right? Mentality side. All Australians, he's an Australian. They're going to get along very well, right? And obviously, Chris is there. You know how Chris is. Gomez, for the ones that don't know who I'm talking about, the GM right now and the top dog in that organization, and the one who decides everything. I think all in all, the risk is worth taking, even though, like you said, AaRON didn't play for 6-7 months. I didn't even see him in CS.
I think it's been like his last official on HLTV was in October of 2021.
But if you get him early, like if you plan early, if you plan like 3-4 months in ahead, I'm gonna get AaRON, I'm gonna remove Hatz, and I'm gonna get AaRON. and you explain this, and you make a deal, and then he's gonna get back in shape. Aaron is 28 years old. He's not a child. You know, he knows how to get back into this thing. That the question is like, you know, how much does he want to? Does he, you know, that he's currently situated in Europe and he's building a life there. You know, the location problems, you know, the logistical issues are there. But I believe that, you know, if he wants to get back into the game, and none of these organizations that were supposed to sign him that made mistakes and didn't sign him, I think if he wants to compete, he needs to go there. And if I were him, I would actually go and try to put myself in that lineup.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see what happens with the developments from Order. This is recent news that came out today. Hopefully they have somebody in line. Now, Lucas, I sent you a link. This is for the people at home. You guys should be able to see this on a little preview here. But I just want to quickly go through. We'll keep tabs, right? So we're using the major as the runway. So let's quickly just put the names here who we think from these regions might be in the conversation, right? So I think we're going to go Order, NASA, and then the question is... Didn't I send you a link? Sorry,
No.
Lucas. I sent you one now. Either is going to have to be Tyloo or Rare Adam, right?
Yeah.
This is
or Wings Up or...
Well, yeah, but Tyloo, Rare Adam are ahead of the pack, aren't they?
Yeah,
And then
I mean,
IHC.
Rare Adam actually were the team that maybe almost overtook Tyloo as the best Chinese team for a bit there, but they just didn't get to actually go somewhere because of, you know, a bunch of visa issues. So they only got to go to, was it
They went like
Spain?
recently. Yeah.
I think it was Valencia, no? Am I crazy?
I'm just having a look here. They were doing the Challenger. Yeah, it was Valencia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that they actually got to go somewhere after qualifying to like 3 or 4 events and just missing all of them because of visa issues. So that's kind of a team that I would look at as, you know, a potential successor to a Tyloo, you know, in the Chinese scene.
All right, well, I'm just going to fill it in. We can come back to this. This isn't important. This is just Asia as a region.
Sure.
Valve don't give a fuck. They only give them 4 spots of the RMR. Why will we? We'll come back and we'll take a look at this.
Yeah, I mean, we can still put
I'm
it
going to
in
make some...
but whatever, yeah.
I made some executives there. I put IHC and Rare Adam from Challenger stage, and I put NASA and Order from RMR. We can, once we learn who Order's 5th is, then maybe we can have another conversation. All right, let's jump into talking about the Americas here. So who are they? Who are they? I don't know who they are. But I know that I wrote Play the Cello for FNX. I thought that one was pretty good. And I saw that someone in the comments liked it as well, Prop. Now, what does this say to you, Striker, about Imperial? Because to me, a team who I thought were just trying to sell jerseys now look like they actually want to be pretty good if they're going to be changing a player.
Yeah, we almost have to wonder if they even expected to be as competitive as they were at the major, just because, you know, obviously since then things have gone pretty much downhill and they haven't had another good result since then. And so at that point you go, well, if we're this shit, like we want to go back to where we were, right? So we just have to make changes at that point. So I mean, this was always going to be the first change that was going to happen. Like, this was a guy that came into the team after, you know, having not even played at a, you know, high level for years essentially, and just, you know, making a comeback all of a sudden. And obviously numbers wise, he's by far the worst player on the team, so that makes sense for him to be the first one out. And it's also actually a Peacemaker who's going out at the same time apparently. I don't know if that's been confirmed.
Yeah,
it's kind of been it's been out there.
That's a curious one though, right? Like the fact that Peacemaker would be going as well as FNX. Like I can understand wanting to, like, maybe you want to change a bit more of the identity, but like Peacemaker didn't even get to be there at the major with them, right? Because he got fucked by this ESIC stuff. So, and that's curious. Like, they selected Peacemaker to be part of like this whole project. You would think that he would be quite.
I mean, they selected
the identity
FNX too, and they are kicking him half year later. So
it's very surprising when you take a look at it. That like FNX, I mean, you can expect it, because what I believe is that he had like a itch for playing and he needed to scratch it, and he scratched it. He played and he was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. The guy's huge. The guy is huge. Like, he has a huge brand. He has a huge following. He's basically a superstar in Brazil, you know, and him going and focusing more on his brand and doing all these things, I think that's the best move he could have made.
If anything, like, this just boosted him for another like 5 years.
Yeah.
His relevancy.
I think what he did is pretty good, and you know, him leaving it's fine as well. You said the lowest numbers, but I believe that, you know, the decision that he made, I think he made that decision and just left, and it's going to be good for him individually and his brand. But the surprising part is the Peacemaker thing, like, because I don't understand. From what I know is that him and Fallen are pretty, you know,
pretty tight, right?
Pretty tight, pretty close, right? And they you know, respect each other for a long time now. And all of a sudden he's not there anymore. What's the reason? I don't know. I tried to find out, but I don't know, and it's very surprising. And honestly, I didn't really expect something like that.
So that's not confirmed, right, Striker? The Peacemaker one, that's still just a rumor.
I mean, there's been
Apparently.
some pretty big indication that he was just out, and I think even like the organization to some degree, or Peacemaker himself, I think to some degree said, you know, it's not 100%, but it looks like I'm out. You know, it's something along those lines. I don't want to. It's been a couple of weeks since that happened, so I don't have it on the top of my head.
I'm happy to believe that all the shit we talk about tonight is either a done deal or real. Like, and also
it's a lot of it for sure.
Yeah,
if it's not, we'll make sure
talk about it next time. That's the whole point, right? Just to have a chat. So this is the curious part, right? So this question, Prof, is one enough, right? Like I know it's two with the coach, but is one player enough, and is chelo the player?
Oh, I think for one, like Imperial with their major run, it's like peaking in high school. Like their whole plan was Rio Major, and then they do kind of well for the Antwerp one, and then after that just lose everything, like are completely uncompetitive in all of their games, and kind of what we expected of them. So yeah, definitely need to make a change. I think chelo was definitely the best player on MIBR, and he was IGLing as well. Like he was literally just like he was doing everything. If they won a game, it was because of him. And I'm not saying the rest of the team is that he's IGLing well. That's probably an indicator that he's not a good IGL, because otherwise, like you'd have other ways to win games. Sure. But he was never supposed to be that anyway. Like they kind of fucked that team up, I feel like, with their whole Woody removal. But yeah, he's a pretty good one to pick up. I feel like he's gonna be an upgrade, and like that kind of fiery Brazilian spirit is gonna fit in well.
Sure, the way he does get fired up, he loves a good yell, chelo. Yeah, right? He does get loud for the team.
Have that in their contract.
Yeah, he reminded me that he seemed a bit more like an aggressive rifler in that team alongside like Jota. Like I remember like the two of them locking down like A ramp on Vertigo, for example, right? So it's going to be curious how they implement him. I don't think having another weapon is a bad thing, right? I think if they have somebody who they can, because we've already seen Fur putting up really good numbers, right? That's where and then so. Maybe it's Vinny who will
Bolts and Vinny, like more
like passive.
Static,
yeah, that actually works. I don't mind that at all. It's just curious though, like with this runway of the Rio Major for them, and this is the change they're looking at. I guess all they need to do is qualify for the major. Like they.
That was my question to you. You asked like, is one enough? I was going to ask you, is one enough for what?
Well, they only need to get top 6 in the Americas. That's it. They like to
only?
qualify. I know, but who else is there?
The thing is like, well, we're gonna get to that later. But the thing is like, is one enough for what? Is the ultimate goal to be in Brazil on the
just
major
to qualify?
Because no Brazilian team without Yuri and Keiserato will be a championship team. So whichever Brazilian team has Yuri and Keiserato has the best chance to be a contender for anything. So
I agree with that.
Everything other than that is just the seeding, is qualifying for the major, getting into these events, maybe hitting a playoff, and that's it. So
hitting a playoff.
That's the highest possible ceiling.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to use this then because I like this. We were going to segue from here into MIBR, but let's go into FURIA. So Kassad, you just said that any team that doesn't have Yuri and Keiserato will not be it would not be the best Brazilian team, right? Yeah. And that I agree with. Do you think that FURIA should have made a move? Like they've definitely plateaued with this roster towards the tail end of the season. Actually, maybe not plateau. It started to look like really rough around the edges.
Yuri and Keiserato are two absolute beasts when it comes to the game. You know, these guys, how they play is absolutely, if you go and look at their demos, the mechanics, the rotations, everything they do is so fluent. And it's so like, you know, it seems like, you know, it's easy what they do, but it's not easy, right? They just make it look like easy. So they're the best two Brazilian players right now. To answer the question, if they need to make a move, yes. And I think it needs to be the IGL move. That's the first move they need to make. They are running the same style for about, 5 years right now, the chaotic FURIA style. And it gets them to the point where they are, I think Yanko said it nicely at one point. He said like it gets them to the thing where they are gonna beat the team that were supposed to win the event, but they're never gonna win it themselves. So what they need to do is change a little bit of the strategy and a little bit of the structure and bring another IGL, whoever that is. I mean, I don't know right now on top of my head, but you know, the move that I would make is definitely changing Art for something. Even Art can maybe stay as an entry, right? But they need to bring another IGL, another style, another structure.
Like the IGL problem, like I don't feel like there is an obvious solution to that in Brazil right now. What if they just change the coach? Could a coach make the difference there?
Do you think that the coach is the one who dictates the whole chaos?
I don't know, but like maybe he could,
I mean, if that's the case,
because
you know,
like how else could you?
it
I feel
has
like
to, he has to be on the same page with the IGL, right?
yeah.
If I
yeah.
tell you to run into a wall as a coach, and you do it, right? You agree to do it, and you knock yourself out, and half of the blame is on you, right?
Yeah, of course.
I
I
mean-
mean, it just doesn't feel like the IGL issue, like replacing the IGL, sounds in theory like a good one, but I don't think in practice there is a suitable change. Like I don't know, we're talking with Twist, who said like Fallen to FURIA would be a thing, and that's kind of, it's very outside of the box thinking, but maybe makes sense. I feel like maybe the coaching change and then having someone new to work with art and implement some new styles could
I
work.
spoke with Zach, the 9Z coach. If you
Yeah.
remember, he was the old Luminosity
Yeah.
coach back in the day. And I asked him about their opera. I can't remember his name right now on top of my head. But the thing is, like, I asked him, like, where did you get this guy, right? And he said, like, yeah, there's a lot of talent in Brazil. I don't understand why these American orgs are not looking for the talent in South America, because there is a lot of people who can play CS, you know. And I answered, like, obviously the North American orgs are a bunch of, you know, incompetent people. But that's another subject. But definitely there is talent there. There is a lot of talent there, you know, and everybody wants to be in these like top tier teams. You just need to go and look for them, and I believe that you can find them.
Yeah, I remember
It doesn't
talking.
have to be Fallen. It doesn't have to be someone already, you know, well, you know, respected or well developed. It doesn't have to be. It's okay if it is, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I remember talking to Peter about that's NQZ you were talking about with from
Yes.
9Z. That's a guy that like a team like MIBR should have fucking jumped on. Like if you look at him how he's performing now, that's definitely like the next up and comer in terms of Brazilian operas. And he got into a team that obviously, you know, is not expected to be some big contender. You know, it's not an MIBR that was at a lot of these big events. You know, so definitely a missed opportunity for some of the bigger teams from the region. And yeah, it might have been even NA. You know, if he's at all prolific in any sense, you know, in English.
That's just bad scouting. That's just bad scouting and a bad management in terms of like I said before, long-term plans. You have anybody to look for those people. You have an endless pool in Brazil, endless pool of players.
Yeah,
They're just waiting for the opportunity.
I think there's a bit like I look at because we're talking about names from the scene at the moment, right? I think Dumao, who's in 0-0 Nation at the moment, like if you had Kassad, Yuri, Dumao in a team, and then you add two more parts to that, I think it'd be a pretty fucking sick team. Like even if you replaced Drop with Dumao, right? I know we're talking a couple of different positions and ways, but still we're upgrading the caliber of the player. Like I would say pretty good across the board. I don't know. They could work that out in the mess, but I think that like the best Brazilian team is not even close to being together yet. Like I think that there's a lot of moves that could be made to make a really good Brazilian team. Okay, let's jump around a bit here. How many chances is Henny going to get, Striker?
I mean,
how many?
I don't know. I mean, I mean, it feels like his time is somewhat running out, right? Because you know, he's getting kind of, what is he, like 27, I think now, something like that. He's getting kind of to a later age, right?
27 make me feel ancient. Yep, cool.
Yeah, he is 27. So like obviously, you know, at some point operas will degrade, and that's kind of the time that you're looking at. And so MIBR, I mean, it is a good fit for MIBR. Like if it wasn't that NQZ guy that we were just talking about, it must have been somebody who's at least, you know, to experience to some level. And like, who else do you get than Henny if you want an experienced opera that is still at a good level, you know?
Feels like they're falling apart of the seams though, doesn't it, for MIBR right now? Like they got rid of Woody, right? Then they bring in the kid from Breno from the academy team who had a good showing for them at the start of the year. And then fucking Chelo's like, first chance he gets, he's like, fucking peace out to Imperial.
That's a problem. That is a problem because now you're losing your best performer, you know. And so where does that leave the team? Like, is Henny going to be able to make up for that? They had some hopping issues, you know. They didn't really have anybody to take up the op. Woody wasn't particularly, you know, good stats wise to put up the numbers as an opper. He was like nowhere near a star. And then, you know, in-game leadership went to chelo for that short period.
Who now left?
And who now left? So yeah, that is the bigger problem in MIBR. You know, who do you even get to get the numbers back up?
I don't know. This isn't even one that I think. Like the thing is, like they overperformed for what I thought they were. Like when they had Chelo, Turtle, Joe, I was like, okay, cool. Like they're actually seeming somewhat competitive and whatnot. And then once they made the Breno change like official, it didn't look great. And it's like, okay, well, they've lost their way. I've kind of lost any spark I had about this team.
And they
now
also
even
had him
more
get,
so.
yeah, they also had him get on the op, and he wasn't particularly great at it. It's not like he was doing a bad job, but just like not an op where you see and go, okay, I'm like this is a guy that we're gonna see, in top teams in the future.
I don't know. Seems like a bunch of bad decisions from the organization and the coaching staff or whoever is making the calls in the team right there.
There is no vision at all in any of this. in MIBR or FURIA, it's just like just randomly picking up players, swapping them for other players, and hoping you hit a home run, right? And how many times is that going to happen, right?
Yeah. So let's leave MIBR there. Probably not too much to talk about here. Liquid and YEKINDAR continue their courtship. Now, Kassad, do you think this is just the fact that Liquid are having a hard time getting the deal done with VP? Well, because this is obviously an extension of him being as Alicia's called him in his content. I think he listed as making playoffs with a stand-in. I think we all know this is a bit more than a stand-in situation, yeah?
It might be the contractual issues right there, but like to avoid that, I believe that YEKINDAR is a perfect fit. It's a very good fit. It's a very good upgrade for a team like Liquid. When they have HooXi, who is a super good, impactful opper, he's not still on the tier 1 Zyvu, simple, all these kind of oppers, right? When it comes to like impact, but he's like getting better and better, right? So, and they have NAF and obviously Alicia, who is not who he was before, but he is still very threatening and very dangerous, right? And the only thing that I'm doubting right there is the combination of leadership in dApps and a Nitro. I'm still not yet sold on the Nitro. I'm not writing him off, him or dApps as well, definitely, but I'm not yet sold that they can be, because we are looking at what do they want to do? Like, do they want to be a team that's going to be just in the playoffs? Team that's going to be the best North American team, or they're going to be the Liquid that won the Grand Slam, right? A team that are going to be gunning for the major. Like, is this the lineup that's going to be gunning for the major? Obviously, the last one with Shox wasn't. Like, we knew it immediately.
No.
Now, is this the lineup with YEKINDAR as an upgrade? Is this the thing that we need to get ourselves to the level that Liquid as an organization is having a culture as an organization to be the contender for every title on every tournament? Is this the lineup? Then if you believe the lineup, then yeah. But I'm not yet sold. I didn't I didn't write them up.
No, I like the positioning you've done there. I think that's fair, don't you, Prof?
Yeah, I think they need to rise to that level. I mean, I don't think any team comes in and is like, oh, we made one change, now we're going to win the major. Like, it's okay, maybe now we can challenge for a title finally after being shit for a year. And I feel like with the YEKINDAR change, they might be there, like, to challenge for some titles.
It's what like OC grows into as well, right?
Yeah, and then see like, oh, can we be a top 5 team consistently? And at that point, then we can reevaluate if Nitro is good enough to get us further, and we give him a bit more time in the combination with dApps to see like, hey, he's going to be a good CS in-game leader after coming back from Valorant, right?
I did like the dApps addition, just because this guy has been in NA for such a long time. He understands the NA culture and the NA way of playing and the mentality of those players, and he deserves a decent chance, and he got a decent chance. Let's see what he can do, right? He has a Liquid behind him. He has good players, and they put him in a good spot. The organization put him in a really good spot by bringing YEKINDAR, trying to bring YEKINDAR. So let's see what he can do. It's a lot of pressure on him. Like I said, the Liquid organization, they need to be on the top of the prediction list when it comes to like winning events, and they need to be a contender. Just
for me, the IGL part about Nitro is like, okay, he didn't have that much time yet. Now they changed the coach. That's like another thing that they can work with. They got a new player in.
That's these next 6 months.
And YEKINDAR is there, who's like adding new stuff to the team. For me, the reason why I'm okay with it is like, who do they get? It's not like some like super amazing IGL is on the market and be like, everyone's a risk. Like Alexi B could be a fit, but he's a risk, If you go for any of these like free agents out there, like an Alex or something, it's not like, oh, this is an obvious upgrade like Shox to YEKINDAR is. So that's why I'm kind of okay.
But it's all a calculated risk if you think about it. Everything is a risk. If I walk out down the street and there's a risk I get hit by a bus, right? But I calculated if I walk on the.
Do you think there's a player that should
have the sidewalk, Prof? you know, the bus might not hit me. There is a 99% he just won't hit me.
Oh,
but like
dear.
with Alexi as well, a calculated.
So is Alexi the sidewalk in this comparison?
Well, he's close to the edge, but no, the thing is, or he's the truck, maybe. I don't.
Maybe you can trip on the sidewalk and just fall and
thing is,
hit
like,
your head somewhere. Who
Is
knows?
it a worth of risk? Maybe
But-
it's just you need to calculate those things as a freaking GM, as a freaking management position. You just need to calculate those things. Is it worth it or not?
Let's put it this way: are we excited about Liquid? Because I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's something.
And that's
that
just because of
enough.
YEKINDAR. Yeah.
Yeah, but also like seeing them smile was nice, you know. So there's obviously we've done the YEKINDAR topic to death, but it's definitely important because as this major pitcher, they are going to be the top dog in the Americas RMR alongside of FURIA. It's those two names. Nobody else is even close, right?
I think
Like,
they're number one, right?
those are the
Number
two who will be fighting for that one legend spot to go straight through to the next stage of competition, right? So that's important. But the next one,
one.
this is a fun one here. Prof, your favorite player, Junior, unfortunately, his time has come and he has been replaced by hallzerk. Now,
Yeah.
we spoke about is one enough with that of Imperial. I want to ask the same question with complexity. Is one enough?
Like again, I think Kassad's question is like for what? If they just
need to qualify. They just
they-
need those stickers.
if they don't want to be an embarrassment, I feel like maybe. I feel like they can get a couple of wins
I
every.
think they're
like,
pretty much there as an embarrassment, right? Now.
I think yeah, but I mean now with hallzerk, maybe they're not that big of an embarrassment.
But
Like they win 2 out of 6 games now, 1 out of 3
Oh,
if
my
you
lord.
use math.
Let's put
So
it
is
this
this
way.
enough? Maybe
Let's put it
not.
this way. Let's try to dissect it a little bit. Organization like Complexity, they pay their way into the Blast partnership. They are in the ESL partnership, so they have this.
But now they're saving money. I'm not joking.
Whatever, doesn't really matter. They are there, right? They have 4, 5.
They're in the club.
4 or 5 free events during the year, which most of the players are like fighting for it now, like tooth and nail, just going through the open qualifiers, trying to get to ESCA leagues and everything. They have 5 events there. They bring like this lineup. They're dead last on everything, and you think that bringing another op is gonna change that? You're a partnership team. Like let's think about it. Like is the op was the op the problem?
I mean,
Oh,
he
was
was
it-
a
it
was
was
problem.
definitely
big-
one
it
of
was
the
a-
problems. One
He
of the
was the
biggest problems,
liability,
for sure.
obviously, but was he the only problem? Is this bringing another opper? Is this gonna solve our issues? What we're gonna jump from the dead last 16th team to be the 14th or 13th?
Yes, that's
Is
how
that
I see
is
it.
that
That's
what
how
we're
I
going
see it,
for
honestly.
as a partnership team?
But
They just want to
Then we have a
avoid
facility
being
of $10 million or whatever in Dallas.
But for me, it's disappointing that out of all of the offers available in Europe, they picked hallzerk. I feel like hallzerk,
it's
okay,
definitely budgeted though as well, right?
Okay, player, but like not exciting at all. Like he was exciting before COVID. Like 2019 was when hallzerk was exciting.
That's long time ago. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad.
No,
I
I don't
think
think-
he's an improvement. He was the only like kind of light in that Dignitas lineup. You know, even when
So
they
say-
got
what are you talking
Electro.
about Forest? Do you think Forest is trash? Kassad says Forest is trash. Write it up. Let's go.
Forrest is
think-
a Hall of Famer, Prof. I know you would like to be in that club, but not gonna happen. The thing is, like, hallzerk is a decent upgrade. I agree with you, but it's just putting let's say somebody stabs you, Prof. Let's say it like that, a little bit, like a deep
And I
cut,
take like a
like
I
a
get
deep
like a
cut,
piece of paper,
and you are
This.
bleeding and trying to like put a little bandage on the big wound that you have from the knife, right? At the beginning, you're gonna feel a little bit better because you're gonna see it like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna bleed out, but at the end of the day, you're just gonna bleed out and die. So that's how I
From
see
around
it.
here, man.
Man, today is interesting.
So you say they need to change an IGL.
They need to
coach?
change everything around the system they have right now. When I walk past
So,
their room,
so you're saying they need to change the GM? Is that the problem?
among other things, yes.
There we
Because
go.
like I said, I was walking past their room in Belgrade in the practice room. 2 of them are like sleeping in their chairs. I don't know if they passed the practice time, but if I'm the manager of that team, not GM, just a team manager of that team, I was like with the coach, listen, this is kind of unacceptable right now. Like we cannot be doing this. You go to your room and sleep. Like it's just it leaves a bad taste. That's one of the little things. Their gameplay is terrible. They have good pieces. Like Floppy is a good player. Fang is like talented player as well. You know, Green, we saw him, he had potential before he joined the league. We don't know what happened to him. But there's so many things that are rotten in that, you know, whole CSGO project of complexity. Ever since the start, they need to start over. They just need to start over, and it's going to be all fine. They still have the partnership spot in Blast, in ESL. It's going to be fine. But continue like this, putting a bandage on a deep wound, not going to help you.
But if you can continue to just come top 6 and get stickers and make millions of dollars, right? Wouldn't you just do that? Doesn't cost you a lot. Maybe you're paying the bills.
That's fine.
Kassad, I like it because you've got your GM pants on and you're like, we want to win, right? But with complexity, I don't think they want to win. Like, I think they'd like to win some games, but they're never winning a tournament unless it's like a fucking.
But that's fine then.
I don't know.
If they come out and say that's fine.
Yeah,
That's
but
fine.
I'm assuming
then leave the
them.
Blast partnership. Just go out. Get somebody else. Kick them out.
MIBR did that, remember? And that's how we got Heroic in. So maybe you're onto something here.
That was a trade.
Yeah,
Trade up.
maybe. Look, I think that this team, right, with hallzerk is definitely going to be better than they were. But what does that say, right? Like, there's still
right, there was no way down, so that's like it's just there's no other way.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing is questioning the move of, okay, was hallzerk the best player they could have picked from? Probably value for money wise. Maybe that's why they went for that, right? Because you'd like to see them go a little bit more aggressive, especially with what Kassad's saying. Like, oh, do we want to try and get like I don't know.
Well, Dexter won, he was still available.
Sure, or a Mantu, right? Or
who's now available? Yeah,
there's a bunch of different names that you could probably throw it all together. But I
is now out there on the wilderness. Like, are we gonna move to EG? Are we moving to EG?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because I can understand why maybe complexity doesn't pick a stronger European offer, because at the same time maybe a bunch of these players wouldn't want to join like complexity. Like, it doesn't seem like a team with a lot of potential. It doesn't seem like they're very
you
ambitious.
might have to move country.
Like, EG also had as a bad rep. But they're trying to do more, that they have more money to spend, that they're spending money, that they're paying like quite decent salaries to some of these players. How are they not operating the AWP position?
Okay, let's fill everybody in here. Let's fill everybody in, and then maybe we can get to, because I'm assuming Kassad's gonna have a lot to say about this one, boys. But let's just so just to fill everybody in on what Prof's saying here. So we have EG, we have the 3 different rosters, we have the main team, we've got the party astronauts. And then we've got Carpe Diem, right? They kept Automatic, who just returned from Valorant, who was one of the players actually showing a bit of promise. They kept Breeze and zerk, who I don't think have done anything since they left the version of themselves at ESL 1 New York when they won it, right?
2019. This is 2019. People watching, maybe you didn't watch CS back then. It was more or less the same game. But we had the Krieg and Og being overpowered.
Yeah. But since then, we haven't seen any signs of life out of those two. Then Stewie's gone, Rush is gone. We understand all that. And they brought in nealaN, who, to be honest,
that is
has
the most
some
random move ever, by the way.
It is really weird. Who has some really cool sunnies, regular glasses. I do like his glasses. HexT, who was from Carpe Diem, they promoted him up to the main roster. And then they've brought in Vorborg, who was the coach of Copenhagen Flames, to coach EG. Now this is the roster.
Co-owner of the
yeah, he was the CEO.
Yeah, sorry. And now this is the team we're looking at: zerk, Breeze, Automatic, nealaN, HexT, and Vorborg coaching. With EG, one of the biggest organizations in the world.
Listen, let's sum it up. Like, let's see the logic of EG right here. So back in January, they hire Malik, right? And I warned them straight up, like, listen, it's gonna be a clash of personalities. It's gonna be a problem, because Stewie is the way he is. Malik is the way he is a person. Malik is a person who is very methodical, who only played in the European teams, in the teams like G2, and that's pretty much it. He dealt with the European mentality, European culture, European style of CS, everything European. And also he had the backing of a G2 constantly. They had his back. They supported him throughout the whole time. Even when there was rough, they supported him like they should do, right? So they hire him to go to America to deal with American personalities, American culture, team in disarray, with the IGL who doesn't get along with him, without any experience being in America at all. Malik is a good coach, but he has no experience. That thing blows up in 4 months with the whole Stewie.
It's like 3 days. Though.
Ivy,
It's like it was 3 days.
Let's say it's 4 months. So that Ivy guy, or is it Ivy or whatever,
Ivy.
right? Ivy, yeah. And the Malik, it all blows up. So it's like, yeah, it was a mistake. We shouldn't have gotten that. So what they do, they go to CIS region and hire an IGL who never spoke in the international speaking team, who never led any team that's beyond top 30 or top whatever 50, that never stepped foot probably in America, who doesn't understand the American way of mentality, doesn't understand the American CS, and they're bringing him to be the IGL in like what 7 days from now to in a boot camp here in Belgrade to get ready for the upcoming season. On top of that, you know, okay, Malek, European coach without any experience in America, didn't work, so we're going to bring another European coach who has no experience in leading tier 1 teams or tier 1 players or anything like that. We're going to bring him here. On top of that, they bring a youngster from the other team, right, which kind of agree on, but the problem is they're setting them up for fail right now, and that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is, like Chad mentioned, the core of the team right now. The core of the team right now is absolutely abysmal. Right now, we have zerk and Breeze for about 1.5 years, and I'm being generous, just doing absolutely nothing. Now, zerk is one of those players that goes into a category of deserving a second chance. I think he's still got it. He's still sharp. He still have the motivation. His environment right now is super toxic. He's not doing well for himself. He's making bad decisions for himself by staying. His contract is up in like 3 weeks. I'm assuming they're going to extend it and just keep this lineup, and that's a massive mistake. If I'm zerk in May, when this thing blew up and everything happened, if I have an agent or somebody who is advising me, and this agent's thing is a completely different topic, I wish we have time for that, but I'm advising him, listen, maybe I want to change the environment. I want to do this. Hey, Complexity, you knock on the door, you need an offer, right? I want to change my environment. I still have it. I want to go to you guys. I still gonna keep being in NA like I was in the past 5 years. I think I can bring some heat to your team, and it can be well. You can be well. I can match with Kloppy and these other young guys that are pretty good players as well. If that doesn't work, I knock on the door of ENCE. Okay, guys, I see you're looking for an offer. I can still go back. I can still do something. I can change their mind, go back to Europe, still play on the high level. That doesn't work. I go to fnatic. Nikodos wasn't still there. I knock on the door. Oh, guys, you're making international lineup. Crims is there. Mezzi is there. Super good players. I want to play there. See what you can do. He decided the worst option, and he stayed there. We have Breeze. The same thing with him. He hasn't shown anything in the past 2 years. That guy was one of the best players in the world in 2019.
Factos.
He was super good. In 2018-19, he was absolute beast. After that, he just shut down. He needs to change the environment. Then thinking that this core, automatically, I would keep him. He is a very valuable player. I don't want to, not say nothing besides that he's good. But the thing is, like, you keep all this core, you add these pieces that don't make any sense. The chemistry is terrible. You brought a coach without an experience. He might be a good coach, but they're setting them up for failure. And the cherry on the top of this shit cake that we have here is the fact that they're going to be thinking in 2 months from now, they're going to be thinking once they start, maybe, well, they beat a couple of teams, in the couple of maps, couple of matches, whatever. They're going to be thinking, oh, yeah, this team has potential. But in fact, they're going to be on the very same position 4 months from now. The thing is, like you mentioned before, Chad, I want to come back to that. The fact that EG is one of the most respectable, one of the oldest, one of the, the best organizations, the most funded organizations right now. And they need to demand, top level teams, right? Their Dota team is not doing so well. I'm watching the Arlington Major right now. It's not doing so well for different reasons. But the thing is, like, they need to demand almost perfection. I want to be a tier 1 team. I want to have a tier 1 team that's going to be going for the titles. And this is what they do. In 6 months from now, we're going to be doing another one of these shows where we're going to be discussing another 2 shitty
changes
with
a new coach. That doesn't make sense.
But the whole thing
wasn't there also a rumor that like Malek was also
meant to be coming back? I read
meant to be coming back. Like this, like, how is this happening? How do you fire the coach because he doesn't get along with the IGL?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, he had the support of organization.
And then tried to bring back the same. Who is running this ship? What is going on?
They are burning money.
They signed nealaN, and they almost signed misutaaa. Not gonna go into that because technically they could have maybe actually kept him, but didn't want to. Okay, good, whatever. But then you again sign the coach. You're doing the same thing you did last time. Instead of signing the coach, and then like, okay, coach, what do we need to fix this? Who do you want to work
I told them
with?
multiple times, get
No,
Justin.
no, this is
Go
the team.
to Justin. Get Justin.
I
Well,
advise
he's still
Justin to never join EG.
I
like,
told
not without
GG
the
to go
team
for
is.
him. You know.
Well, there
they
you
had
go.
so
So
much-
this is probably, you know, I said don't touch that team, Justin. It is
Well,
fucked.
If he gets into this, if he was supposed to get in this team, then I would tell him no as well. But you know, if I was actually hired to do some of the work in this team wouldn't look like this.
Where can they find you, kassad? What's the best way to reach you?
They cannot find me ever again.
Are you looking for work?
Well,
I'm trying to
they
put you up with a
can't
job
find
here.
me. EG cannot find me ever again. The thing is, like, it's so terrible. Like that lady, that CEO Nicole. I don't remember her last name. I wish she's watching this. Like,
Maybe.
she seems like a smart lady, right? I watched her like interviews and stuff that she says on Twitter and stuff, and she seems like like a smart, you know, businesswoman, right? But like having like these decisions.
Look, have we
it's
considered this though, right? Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Have we considered they've gotten themselves into this like playpen of rules that they're trying to play around with, like the Louvre agreement, and we want to save NACS, and want to, like, it feels like they're trying to do too many things at once, which is the goal should be just to have the best Counter-Strike team you possibly can, right? Whereas like right now, it's like, oh, you remember how there's that whole thing, Striker, were EG the ones tweeting about saving North American CS?
Oh my God,
I mean,
Jesus
that was
Christ!
part of it.
The thing
I don't
is,
know.
like, they have unlimited money, Chad. They have unlimited money. They can do whatever they want with their lineups, and decide to do this. You're talking about saving NACS. I'm going to give you an idea how to save NACS right now.
Here we go.
Do you have, like I told you about, like ESL, Blast, all having manpower, having resources, infrastructure, everything. Take the example of We Play Academy League. Take it over to the NA. Get your organizations to get academy teams, 8 of them. I can name Complexity, Liquid, Cloud9, EG, possibly FURIA, that's North American, somebody from South America as well, maybe FaZe. That's their North American organization after all. They can get an academy team. Get a program where you have 4 different seasons of Academy League in North America, and see how 8 months from now you're going to get players that are maybe resembling of the new Elysians, new Twists, new NAVs, something like a new wave of young players, and get those leagues. They have the resources, they have the infrastructure, they all have facilities, and get all this, you know, ESL and Blast, they got all this money, they can support them. I'll give you a few numbers, right? Because the salary in the average Valorant team that was dismantled in the past, a month, because they didn't get the spot in the franchise thing, right? It was $6,000 to $10,000 per month. Team like Andbox had a salary range from $6,000 to $10,000 a month.
Jesus.
That is absolutely crazy. So you take half of that money and you give it to these kids as a development rookie youth program contract. You know, you get the help from ESL, you get the help from Blast, you get mainly from ESL, and you get the help from these organizations. Provide them with the infrastructure, organize online or online as well, 4 times during a year, every season, you know, winter, summer, fall, autumn, whatever, right? And then you, in 8 months from now, you will have a pool of young players doing, you know, well, and then you can send them to Europe, you can sell them, you can move them to your main teams like Complexity and EG, and actually make a difference and restart the North American CS. You know, they all talk about a lot of shit, how they want to save it, how it's going down, but nobody's doing anything to help it. So this is one of the ideas from the top of my head that can be done. You have 4 months. Today is the 8th of August right now. Till December, plan it and start with the program in January 2023, and see in October of 2023 how many young North American talents will pop up and how many players will get the teams like Complexity, EG, and all other teams. You know, it's just there. Zach said it nice. There is a lot of talent in South America. There is a lot of organizations now that can hire these young teams, organize it, do it. That's how you restart North American CS, not bringing CIS, IGLs, and European coaches and who doesn't have any experience anywhere. So it's just, you know, just work in your own region and just use your brain, use your resources, and hire competent people to do it.
Yeah, I mean, even adding onto that, like the Academy League, there is going to be like the CCT, which is the big tour with a lot of different organizers that's going to have tournaments in NA as well, which are not going to be really for, you know, Liquid main team.
Well,
Maybe,
I mean, like I said,
maybe EG main team, maybe
the
Complexity
youth
main
academy-
team. I'm not sure, but like there is potential for these like secondary teams to stay in NA and just have like a couple of lands per year and all of these things. So
Youth Academy program, 4 seasons per year, get at least 8 young teams to compete, send them to Europe, get the World Finals, do something. You have the resources now, $1.5 billion freaking dollars each.
Yeah, well, if they wanted to, like, because that's the thing, that kind of academy league that we play does is like franchise, right? Because all the
Yeah, it
teams
is-
have
it is
to
like partnership teams.
So
I
if they
mean,
want to do it, like, to be fair, like a lot of the Valorant stuff, when it is just the North American teams, like in the LCQ, like that does really well. I think the biggest issue is getting the players. But if you were saying that these North American orgs should be investing more in paying players in the academy league, then they'll be able to get names back easy. I think another thing that's important is if there is the Source 2 update and Source 2 becomes like, or CSGO, let's say they do all the stuff with it that we're all excited about, and it kind of gets like a relaunch 10 years into the game and it's hype and stuff. Maybe it spawns like a new generation. Maybe fucking XQC's playing more of it on the stream and the next little Zoomers. It'd be good to kind of have it bundled together. That would be not, it could be a nice time, because North American Counter-Strike in 2019 was the best year for North American CS. EG/NRG and Liquid were fucking pumping, right? It was really good. I think one thing we didn't touch on though is the fact that, and you talked about cherries on top of cakes, Kassad. The biggest one and my favorite one is the fact that Party Astronauts and Carpe Diem, by joining EG and getting themselves what I'm sure is probably like just above minimum wage salary, cannot qualify for majors. So we have to find 6 teams from the region of North America and South America to qualify for the RMR. And I can name you 6. I can't name you much more outside of that field, right? Liquid, FURIA, Complexity, EG, MIBR, Imperial, 9Z, Pain, but they lost Nathan and Neckers, so I don't even know who they're gonna get. So how are we even filling out fucking 6 teams?
especially
region?
the North American side is going to be pretty dire.
Zero Nation
that comes from the open qualifiers. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be Davenport University, Timberman.
Bad News Bears just went under, I think. Like, they're no longer a team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, who would we say right now? We're kind of having a power rank this are our 6. I would say Liquid number 1, Furia number 2.
Yeah.
Who comes in number 3? Zero Nation?
Probably.
I don't know.
They had like one good tournament.
Exactly. And that's how we overhype people around here.
No,
Prof.
but
all you need to do is have one good
Godsend.
tournament.
This is the core of the Godsend team that was decent. You know, it's not like this is a 0-0 nation that's never, you know, this is not a core that's never played before. So I think like putting them in that category is fine. Obviously, Godsend didn't make it to the last major, but they were in that discussion
right?
at least at that
No,
time.
they didn't.
No, they didn't. They
I
didn't.
feel like
Am I crazy?
no, they didn't.
They failed. Yeah.
It was the one before that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do EG make it?
Did EG make it? Yeah.
They're probably through the top
No,
6.
if they do.
Oh,
now.
no. I don't,
That makes the RMR.
It's going to be a close one for them.
Did Complexity make it?
I think
Yes.
so.
I think so.
I
Okay.
think so.
Do Imperial make it?
I think
I
so.
would say yeah. Actually, I would say yeah.
Okay. MIBR, I don't know. I would like to put 9Z here instead of MIBR.
I
but,
think so.
Yeah?
I think so as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then
I'm not against it.
Then everybody else. Right? Like, I don't know who else is going to fill out these slots. We don't really have enough teams.
Yeah.
Not really, no.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to leave this here for the North American portion. We're going to run some ads and we'll be right back.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
All right, we're back. First thing off the top here, people are noticing the lights in the background. I don't know why the power in this room after it gets to about 8 o'clock at night flickers. I don't know. I actually don't know. I can't answer the question. All I know is it definitely does flicker, and it only happens after 8 o'clock at night, or maybe at 7:30 or some shit. Either way, we're going to start talking about the European roster changes and what that means for the major and the run in there. But the first thing we want to do is get into the N1 moment brought to you by N1 Bet. You know, this is where we highlight something nice that happened. Or well, I guess it doesn't have to be something nice, but it's a bit of a focus moment here, everybody. And today we're going to be focusing on karrigan, who got married. So congratulations from HLTV Confirmed podcast. Hopefully all of our lovely viewers towards karrigan who tied the knot. It's good to see people with adult responsibility. Striker, are you going to be getting married anytime soon?
Not anytime soon.
Okay. Are you closer to getting married or divorced, Striker?
No, probably married, considering I'm not married now. So
okay,
you never know.
I mean,
That's fair
obviously
enough.
you have to get married to get divorced. So you have to be. Since I'm not married, I have to be closer to get married than divorced.
I've never
That's
been married or
logical.
divorced
Maybe you
either.
can get divorced from reality, for example, just like whoever's running EG.
Oh, and people pointing out in chat that James also got married. So congratulations to James as well. We might as well cover. I saw that it got like Olaf in a suit. Frozen was there at karrigan's wedding wearing a suit as well. So good to see. Okay, that's the N1 moment. And that is all we're going to be saying about FaZe. So I hope all the FaZe fans got what you needed to hear about FaZe, because we have no reason to talk about them. They are the best team in the world. They have no need for a roster change. Unless I'm wrong, gentlemen. Is there anything that needs to be said about FaZe?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, they are in Group A of the European RMRs, right? They, because of the placement they had at the last major, which is called winning it, they're straight into the RMRs, which is quite nice. They're in Group A alongside of Spirit, NIP, G2, Cloud9, and the Bad News Eagles. So let's start with one of the players, or one of the teams, who is rumored to have these roster changes yet to be confirmed. G2 with the addition of JKS and HooXi. We're just going to operate under the proviso that this is happening. Now, kassad, you seem to be a big fan of the JKS move. How about the HooXi move?
Well, yeah, I like the JKS. I said it in the little interview, and I mentioned it multiple, but I'm not sold on HooXi. I'm not sold on HooXi because he's let's revise him for a second. He is 26 years old. That's a good age to it's not too late, it's not too early, it's just a perfect age. But there is in fragging department he is lacking quite a bit. He never was in a position to lead in the international team, English speaking team. He never had to deal with massive pressure. You know how it goes with players, that don't deliver frags in our community. They get a lot of pressure, especially if they're in the organization that expects titles. So if he's not able to deal with that kind of pressure from all over the sides that are going to be hitting him, especially because he's going to be taking that more of an entry role, and that we know how that goes. If you're an entry and you're not hitting your shots, you're going to end up in a very, very low rating, and the pressure will come. Is that going to affect his calls? Is that going to affect the confidence of the team? I don't know, but I'm not yet sold. I have to wait and see. I'm like I said, not sold at all when it comes to the HooXi move. I don't know. The guy's probably smart. The guy probably has a good IGL, sense. But is he going to be able to deliver on a tier 1? We never saw that, in the past. He's 26 years old, and I'm afraid that it might be a liability in a way, but we have to see how it develops. I want to see the system that the Xtrfy is going to implement with this guy, and if they're going to be on the same page when it comes to the structuring, and how Nico is going to take the leadership of him, and how it's going to affect his game style, and Hunter as well, because we all know they depend a lot of this kind of a free flow in the game, not being dependent so much on the preset plays. And they like to play reactionary Counter-Strike, basic Counter-Strike, and is this the way that HooXi is going to be leading and calling? I don't know. But like I said, I'm not too optimistic when it comes to the HooXi, but JKS is JKS, and is he going to make up for it? We'll see.
I forget if we spoke about this last time, Striker and Prof. Did we discuss this when we didn't discuss HooXi?
We didn't know either of them, no? Pretty sure we didn't know either.
We didn't know either. I thought we. Oh yeah, that's right. I
It's 2 weeks ago.
pretended.
2 weeks
I
ago.
pretended
Remember,
like
this
I,
is relatively
you know,
recent
You
rumors.
did
actually.
you did another podcast. You did
yeah,
the thing.
yeah,
You
that's
did the
right.
thing.
Yeah. No, but
it was
also it's like I pretended. You know, I was like, wait, JKS is joining G2. What? This is crazy, man. This is so crazy. So we didn't discuss either. I think that the JKS one, right? Because there's two things that happened here. There's two things that happened, Striker. Is one is that YEKINDAR was the solution to everybody's problems, right?
Yeah.
There was this. Everybody thought YEKINDAR was the solution to literally every team's problem in the history of Counter-Strike that ever existed. And then there was this whole chopping and changing of the in-game leader one. The JKS discussion doesn't feel like it. Obviously, you did the piece. Was it you, Striker, who did the piece with Maui? And yeah, so you curated some opinions, or you collected some opinions. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just to touch back on that. I was just curious about what the consensus was, also because I was kind of asking on Twitter, because a lot of, like, when we were talking about this in a potential fucking world, like I don't know how many months ago when we started talking about G2 potentially changing something, I remember us being also on that kind of track of thought that JKS doesn't really make any sense in G2 because of, you know, Hunter and Nico being the being kind of not necessarily in the same positions, but having a similar idea behind the game. You know, they all like to do their own things, and they're usually alone in creating space and stuff like that. And so if you have 2 to 3 people like that on the same team, that might create problems. You know, obviously since then we've seen both Nico and Hunter change positions, and obviously they can do different things, and so they can accommodate JKS to a different degree now, that I think. And also, you know, we've seen JKS in slightly different positions with FaZe. I do think that that's kind of like a one-time thing that we shouldn't really be expecting. I was agreeing with kassad and what he was saying in his opinion when I was asking him about it. I'm still kind of curious about how this is going to work and how much space there is going to be on this team because of HooXi in particular. Because as kassad was saying, like, he will have to move into more of an entry role. Like he's going to have to be forward in that team. Like, there's no way he's not, because obviously, you know, Nico is, like, I guess the entry that you can call it, but he's not like the guy who runs in first in site executes and stuff like that. He's not the sacrificial lamb that a team uses. He's more of a, I'm going to find some space because I'm a massively skilled individual. I will get you a pick somewhere. I'm not an entry. I'm more of a guy who's creating space and who's finding picks, you know? And so, like, if you put HooXi into that position, of course, he's going to have people behind him who's going to be able to, you know, use that space that he creates it. But like, we haven't really seen teams who have a guy who just, you know, runs in and dies all the time be particularly successful. You know, it's just too much of a liability a lot of the time. And, you know, there's never a guarantee that that trader will come in. You know, if you have a guy dying first too much, that just creates a lot of problems, and you have to create the space somewhere else. Obviously, you to have those players, but HooXi just never has been in that position. He was, I think, even the least aggressive in that Copenhagen Flames
the least
team.
aggressive player on Copenhagen Flames.
Yeah, the stats don't look great for him. The stats really don't look great for him at all.
No.
But I don't know. What I do is I grab and I compare this to the in-game leaders around him, the in-game leaders who have either come or gone, or the other ones who are rumored. And I go, well, none of the names that people can list have achieved as much as HooXi as an in-game leader in the last 6 to 8 months.
Oh, that's actually fair, yeah.
Like,
he almost made playoffs at Stockholm and actually made playoffs in Antwerp.
Yeah, and all I see is, oh, there's HooXi's rating, HooXi this, HooXi that. It's like, mate, the guy came from nowhere and made a deep run with a team, by the way, not just one player carrying, even though Roy did play very well, right? A team who had stuck together, they'd done all the right stuff, the hard yards, they're all on the same page. They're this, like, come from nowhere underdog. Everybody loves that kind of story. And then they back it up and they do it again. And then they make top 8 at a major. And it's like, okay, what more do you want? Like, okay, you would love for the guy to frag some more, but it wasn't in a team to win.
The thing is, like, we're not questioning here, at least not me personally, if he deserved the chance. He definitely did, right? He bought his tickets to G2, you know, fair and square. He worked for it. He got the chance. He bought the ticket, and he deserved it, right? But, like, we spoke about this roles change. He was the least aggressive player in Copenhagen Flames, and yet he had the lowest amount of impact, right, in terms of numbers, right? And then he's been going to put in this tier 1 CS being played constantly against the very sharp players in the very aggressive role, under the pressure of the whole community and the whole army of fans and every spotlight looking into him directly. Is he going to be able to move G2 into the contender title contender spot, right? And that's a very difficult thing to deal with, right? Is there any systems in G2 structure to deal with those kind of situations? I don't know, probably not. But I can see him, having a lot of issues in that aspect. Is that gonna affect his calling? I don't know. Usually it does affect people like that.
Okay, let's lay it out this way then. Prof, I'll throw this one to you. Is this the type of team that is going to require a good debut in Blast to have momentum to run with for the rest of the season? Because you look at what happened with their Katowice showing, it didn't go good after that.
I don't know. I think they must understand that it's going to be a big adjustment period for this team. The thing that HexT has also tweeted about, like Hunter, is like, Hunter played the passive roles because we needed him, which I feel like it's kind of, I don't know.
Said lurk.
Kassad,
He said lurk roles rather than passive, to be fair.
Okay, lurk roles, yeah, but he was pretty passive. Like Hunter was, I think, the most in terms of like opening duels, towards the bottom, like 13 to 15%. And like thinking back to him, he was always that kind of a player that kind of had these like lurky plays all the time. So I feel like,
you like that?
Oh, we lost him. Or maybe
historically he's
there
not
is.
been pack player.
Must be raining.
Weird comment. I don't think it's rip.
It's all right.
You're just coming back in and out, I think.
We got
Yeah,
it.
no.
We got it all, but you were delayed for a moment there.
I'm just key thing is I think it's a big adjustment period. So I don't think they should be expected to do really well early on.
Okay. All right.
I mean, how much time we need to give them?
Well, that's the
Like,
thing.
that
They
is the
changed in game leader at
problem.
the start of the year, right? And they finally have an AWPer now. This is the thing. I look at the fact that they have Nico, Hunter, and m0NESY, right? They have very good players in that regard. Then after that, you bring JKS in, so you have more firepower. I think, some people think he was overhyped, some people think he was underhyped. Whatever. JKS is going to bring them more than what Jax did, right? I can guarantee you that. It's just the HooXi question mark. And I think if they hit the ground running in a better way than with whatever happened over there with the start of the G2 roster and Alexi, then like I know Yanko's of the opinion they should never have gotten rid of Alexi. We don't know what happened between Alexi and the coach, right? If that is the issue, where the issue is exactly. I just think G2 hasn't been operating at full capacity for a long time, right? And I don't know if this new roster is full capacity or if there's still tweaks and upgrades to be made. But I think that this is a better roster that they've had in a while, right? They're not having Amanek, or they're not swapping in and out players. They're not having Kenny come in and out. They're not, no one's compromised. Everybody should be able to do, other than HooXi, who we're saying has to be a little bit more aggressive here, relatively what they like to do. So this team should be good. I'm not expecting it to happen overnight, but they should be good. There should be some promise. It should be a little bit more convincing than what the team showed us in the first 6 months of the year.
Every 6 months they change a player, and like we are saying, like, you give them more time. Like I told this to Nico back in May, or when we were sitting down for some lunch or dinner. It's like, dude, you are 25 years old. Like you're not 18 anymore. You're not 20 anymore. Do you want your legacy to be as a best superstar who never won a major, or do you want to like end up your career with like 6 titles in or 7, and that should be it? You need to be like thinking like a little bit more, long term, rather than just fixing the immediate problems right now. So it's like they're changing players, and I believe this is the last shot for this G2 lineup. I don't think that Nico will want to stay after this, or they don't want to keep him after this, like if this doesn't work. And it's definitely something that I can't really agree on, like let's give them more time. I want the immediate results. If I'm Carlos, I have been investing money and money and money. So JKS was, I don't know if he's being sold to G2 for 200k, but his price for 200k. m0NESY is 600k. Nico was like 1 million. Nexa and Hunter were like 400k, and that adds up. And let's not forget about the fact that G2 is having extremely high salaries, and the money, the business aspect of the whole thing, and you want results, and then how many players do I need to buy in order to get the team, and how much time do you need? You haven't won an event in 3 years.
Yeah,
and you
I
were
feel
close,
like
yeah. But
if this was Snappy instead of HooXi, I'd say yeah. But I feel like this way it's different, because like I feel like the HooXi one was actually like a super budget signing. Like that is just facts. Like he was the cheapest IGL that they could have gotten. And I
But
feel like
that's the thing when you weigh him up against the other IGLs. Like, do you think price was the factor that they went for him over somebody else?
I mean,
Like, because Azza would have been free, right?
what else? What
Yeah,
else?
but that's the thing. But he has no value of playing in the last year. Or you go for Alex, who hasn't worked in either of the last two projects he just did. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if the HooXi one was driven by money, but it definitely helps. It's nice that it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. But I don't know. I think that this is the thing with G2. Maybe this is the team that we just need to stop talking about, and maybe they'll start winning, because we're always talking about G2, even though people in the YouTube comments think, we're not talking about G2. But yeah, I don't know. It's like you want something to happen. You want to be excited by this team.
There is a question of what kind of IGL do you want? Do you want a hybrid, like somebody fragging? Do you want a like natural IGL? What suits you the most? Those are the questions for the coach. Those are the questions for GMs. Like, let's see what we need.
Well, what do we think? Let's do it this way.
Let's see what's available.
Let's put you to the test, man. Let's put you to the test. So you got this team of players, right?
Yeah.
Let's just assume that you're coaching. What's your T side like pack look like, right? For your map control. Who are the three who are in the pack?
Want to see Hunter and the fifth player who is the IGL who's not HooXi, and then I would have Nico, and I would have Nico definitely. Let's say we took Mirage, right? I would have Nico doing the underpass, be lurk, and have put Justin on a natural T side spot on the A side, right? Because why? Because Justin has been playing that, and he's best in doing that, in reacting and walking out on A and using the advantages. And while I have Nico, when I need to use him as a 1-4 default, he can go immediately to underpass and just help with the mid takes and the mid round control and the getting the mid round call and switching from A to B. That's how I would use that lineup, right? So whoever is the IGL, I don't know who would that be. I'm not gonna, we can talk about names too, but the default on Mirage would look like that. Definitely, because I would use Nico. Doesn't have to be on A, because Justin is equally good on reacting on the certain informations, because we have been doing this for the past 5 years on that spot, and he can do it in his sleep. That's why I would utilize Nico's skill, Nico's ability to read around in underpass, to quickly react and go in the window, going to run into connector or take connector, or maybe come back to B and walk out B and call the mid round something, right? To actually get the value of him. I don't know if that's going to happen in their Mirage right now, but that's how I would do it, right?
Yeah, but I think that and what you've just set up here is probably what we are going to see with them, right? Like I can. The thing is, I think it's interchangeable depending on what type of round they want to run. Like you saw with a lot of these players that they can do a lot. Like I think that Nico, Hunter, and JKS can do whatever the team needs of them, right? Obviously, you want to put them in their more favorable positions, but I think that's good. That kind of gives people a bit of a look at what they could be expecting with this team. On the CT side, Nico can still do secondary AWPing. I don't think there's anybody to step on toes.
Too.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I'm curious, like how much. My biggest thing is with Justin, how much he comes in and says, "Hey, right, I am a
never going to happen."
But that's the thing. Like unless XTAS completely knows his worth and how much he can bring, Justin's going to need to bring a little bit of that and go, "Hey, I can do a little bit of this. I can chip in here."
But you have to bank on the fact that Justin is getting older right now and getting more like mature, in these things, right? And that's something that he needs.
It's an old team.
Yeah,
it is an old team, right?
It's not the youngest, but it's all right. Like 25 is the average, right?
But like, so what? Hunter's a year older,
to be honest.
Hunter's a year older than Nico, right? And then HooXi is, didn't we say 27 for HooXi?
Yeah, 27.
And Justin's 26 or 27 as well.
26. Yeah.
So, but to be fair, they were already an old team with
That's
Jax.
peak, man. That's peak performance right here. It doesn't have to be 22.
So they're winning the major. Say it now.
No, never gonna say it.
Okay.
The thing is, like, with Justin, it's gonna be super good on CT side, because, like I said, Nico is a play. Maybe we talked about entry positions, and Nico is an entry on his own terms, right? That's how I like to phrase it, right? And Jax was the entry by design, right? And now HooXi is going to be the entry by design. Nico is still going to be an entry by his own terms. And then now they have Justin to be the anchor, for example, on the CT side, that can free up Nico, that can free up Hunter. So Nico doesn't have to look over his shoulder on Mirage in connector, where he thinks like, oh, what the hell is this guy doing? He knows that Justin is there and he's doing what needs to be done. And when the people come out at him, he's not going to be traded 1-for-1 or 1-for-0 or 0-for-1. He's going to get two people. He's not going to be needing a flash instantly. So Nico won't have to worry about those things. things, so he can be aggressive in connector like he does. He can work with Hunter on short in connector and middle. Obviously, Monesi will be there to chime in as well. So there is a lot of potential on those CT side. The problem, like we said, is that T side and the impact of the entry fragger, because I think you said it, Striker, as well, that if he doesn't get the entries, man, they are going to be starting 4v5. So it needs some, Jax was, if you compare HooXi to Jax, Jax is 3 times sharper. Like, maybe he's not smart as HooXi, he's not reading the game as HooXi, but he was 3 times sharper. So when he goes into this entry battle of the entry battle coming into the side after the flashes come, he's going to hit that shot. How many shots is HooXi going to hit, right? Before he gets, that's the issue right there. You see, if he can, kind of balance that with good calls and getting the team to get the best out of them, then maybe he can even out. If he doesn't, then another change is coming up in 6 months.
The way I'm thinking about it is that G2 might actually have a completely different solution. Well, not necessarily a completely different solution, but obviously, you still have people who are capable of finding openings, and so obviously, this is where the whole entry role comes into question, because it doesn't necessarily exist these days in CS:GO in a purist fashion, because you just don't do executes all the time. You don't have a guy running in first all the time. He's not the guy who's always going to be involved in the opening duels. And G2 has never been the team that has like one super set entry, because they have an eco, who just is super aggressive on the side, and he is the guy who gets the most openings for G2 and has been for a while now. So like that's where like the roles don't necessarily match up to like what maybe people think of what is an entry, right? And so what I'm thinking is, like, of course, executes and stuff like that, I imagine HooXi has to be the guy who's running in first, unless you have, like, I don't know, Nico maybe has is feeling it or whatever, and really wants to go first, or based on spawn or whatever like that. But he is the guy, he's the sacrificial lamb. Like, who else would it be? Like, it can't be Monesi in the pack. It can't be, probably it's not going to be Hunter, because he's never been the guy who's just going to run and get kills and just like get momentum, So like, it's gotta be HooXi. And it can't be what?
Yeah, he will on eco though.
It depends. Depends as well, like on certain things, right? Like, is he going to use utility to set himself up as an aggressive in-game leader, right? Like, is it going to be more like a blame F, right? Obviously not to that extreme. Or is it going to be more like a NAFNI or an Art, who sure there will be utility to help them, but like that kind of stuff.
I mean, he can't be. That's just not going to be it, right? Like, he's not going to be the guy who constantly like goes first and like finds, like, no, he's going to try to set his stars up and maybe rather like jump around corners, but like make sure that he's still being safe while another guy behind him is trying to like use that information, stuff like that. I'm sure
he doesn't do like a Crystal where he's just literally jumping around corners with like a Mac 10 and a hat. Like, you don't want it to get to that point, right?
I don't mean that way. I mean more like in the smart way that you see nowadays in CS:GO, where people are just much better at staying alive, even in those entry positions. They're just much better at jiggle picking and making sure you get that information for your stars, who then find those kills or just like create that space, So like I'm sure HooXi will find a way to be smart about it, but it's still a role that he's not used to. So that's my biggest worry.
It's also, sorry, before we jump into the next, it's also a problem of him, like, what kind of instincts does this guy have? Is it aggressive or defensive? If he's defensive, like he was if this is like his natural playing style, and you put him into aggressive role, that's just because he's gonna suffer a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he will probably be kind of like feel forced to jump around corners and stuff like that to set up his, his stars,
That's
so
another subject in 6 months that we're gonna recap.
Our conclusion,
probably.
I feel like we kind of agree. Chad didn't really put out his opinion because JKS is on the team, so doesn't want to hurt his feelings, I feel. But otherwise, we agree that like this team is not going to win the major in like 6 months. There are going to be more changes.
Yes.
Chad?
I don't think they're going to win the major. I think they'll be better than the previous iteration. But
so what are they going to do?
Hopefully be a little bit more exciting. I wanted to ask the question, like, we were excited about Liquid. Are we excited about G2?
Yeah, to that point, yes.
I mean, it's difficult not to get excited about G2 because they just have too many pieces who are interesting and who are like exciting players. And so like every change that will happen in that team will be like, okay, so where the fuck does this take them now?
I'm excited to see if it works or if it works or if it doesn't work. That's what
I mean, they're also great to hate. So, when shit goes bad, it's amazing to watch. Everyone enjoys it.
Now, I want to bring up this next one here. This is going to be a quick one, boys, but this is Device Watch. Has anyone seen him? Anyone seen him in the wild, in the FACEIT games? Any murmurs, any rumors?
I'm not gonna talk about what I saw on the forums.
Okay.
Did we all see it?
I don't know what you mean.
I'm not. It's not the domain we talk about here. So
okay, fair enough. So have we heard anything? Is there any signs of life? Strike, I'm looking at you. You're normally the one who has, you and NIP seem to get along like a house on fire.
Any? That's about the right way of putting it.
Any news?
No, I haven't heard. That's a fucking. I don't know. That's a black hole. I don't know what the fuck's happening there. I have no idea.
Okay.
Nobody has any idea. Like we heard fucking 4 months ago. Oh, there's some talk about device. Still nothing. And you're like, well, where'd this come from?
Yeah, I saw a tweet from you the other day, Kassad, I think about like why NIP haven't done anything with device or the name, even just his name. Now, I think in the early stages, most people were pretty respectful with, like personal issues and time off. Now, I think we've gone over that grace period where now people are asking those type of questions. I'm going to be honest, and I want you to sell this to me here, Kassad. Why should I care that NIP aren't doing anything with device? Because I don't give a fuck.
The thing is, like, my tweet wasn't really aimed at device at all. The guy, his private life, if he has like a mental health, struggles right now, it should be respected. That's fine. He doesn't want to talk. He's recovering from whatever, is his problem right now. That's fine. My tweet wasn't directed at device. My tweet was directed directly at NIP, who are not. Now listen, you are a big organization on paper. And you have you have an army of fans that's cheering for you, that's getting you sponsors, that's paying you money. You bought a superstar player, one of the all-time best player, 26 years old, 27 years old, in a peak form, the guy who everybody wants to get. And he said that back in January that he asked people to respect his privacy. That's fine. Nobody's asking device anything. But if I'm an organization, I owe it to my fans. Once every 3 months at least. Now we are past that point long time ago. But you say, listen, the situation, thank you for being patient. We apologize for not having any news about, but we're now finding a solution that's going to work best for device as a player and us as the organizations. Now, you don't say anything specific, you're going to keep him, but you update your fans about what's happening. The shit behind the scenes is wild. But the thing is, if you go public and say, listen, this is some sort of announcement where you can just mention the guy is the freaking superstar, you paid $1 million, everybody will want to have him. If I'm GM of any organization, I go to NIP and I ask, how much does this guy cost? I want to get him, right? For us being Astralis, for example. But the thing is, you are not saying anything, you're pretending like nothing is happening, and that this is a LeBron James type of player is sitting on your bench not saying anything. It just leaves a bad taste with the army of fans that you guys have. It's not way to do business at all. Come out as a CEO, not a GM, not a team manager, not a coach, nobody. A CEO, the guy who paid all this money to get device, needs to go out and say, listen, we apologize to our fans. The situation is like this. We are waiting further developments. It's going to be fine. We just need a little bit more time. Thank you for your patience. Hope you still cheer for us. See you on the fucking next tournament and whatnot, right? Just give those people something. It's not about device and his privacy. The guy is going probably to God knows what. We don't know. And we don't know how difficult it is. It's not aimed at him.
It's also super annoying for the rest of the team. Also being every event is oh, is device coming back? Is device coming back? Oh, NIP are still playing without device. Who's going to come in? Who's going to up? Is ESIC going to up? Or what's going on? It's constantly pressure on the actual players that are there can be. Because NIP doesn't come out.
Situation 2015 when Mouseport signed Oscar 7 months in advance, and the whole team didn't know. You remember that after MLG Columbus, they signed Oscar, but it was in February, and they signed it from September. The Mouseport guys didn't even know who's going to be kicked at the end of the season. It's who is Oscar coming for? It's just. It was a mess.
They knew it was the end of the season. Here they don't even know what's coming. It could be next event. Could it be halfway through the event? We don't know. He's a sub for us, so maybe he shows
it's just amateurly done. That's what I'm saying. We need to bring this esports thing to another level. We cannot be doing these things anymore, right? Organizations like NIP that are also partners in ESL and Blast, it needs to go to another level.
Okay. Yeah. It's the lack of information that is honestly on brand with NIP, and it's something that we've been not happy about for a very long time. And it's not just device, it's a lot of other things as well. With the whole, is the guy standing, or is he when is he staying until, and stuff like that. We never get any updates on what the actual thing going behind the scenes is and how you're treating this player. And that is kind of disingenuous, and not just to the fans, but it's just in general, to the community. It doesn't even matter. You just don't know anything about this team. So is this a serious, how seriously are we taking these events? Is this a guy that you expect to stay for the next 3 months, or could he be out the next event? Like nobody knows like what kind of pressure we should be putting on that team. Like how should we expect them to compete? Like you don't say anything, you know. So
I mean, that's the easiest way to deal with it, right? Don't say
Yeah.
anything, so it doesn't come off as you don't know. Maybe we know, maybe we don't know. We're just vibing, and whatever you say, you're gonna be wrong, Striker. Whatever you say is wrong because you don't know what's going on in the team.
It's
But when you
easier to
ask
stay in
what's going
control.
on,
Yeah.
you're not
I
gonna
mean,
get any
they
answers.
don't like us
Hey.
speculating, but then you know they never say anything. So like, what are we supposed to do? You know.
But it's all right. It's all right. We love NIP over here, and we'll move forward and talk about Vitality. All right, we'll leave NIP alone. We don't want to upset Jonas anymore. Okay, let's talk about Vitality. So Vitality being very, I don't know the best word. The word I landed on was ambitious for trying to get
that's a good word.
Spinx. Now, obviously, this team came together to go from being a team in the top 5 to being a title contender. The first 6 months of the year didn't start fantastically well for them, and the rumors are that Spinx will be replacing misutaaa, which is going to in turn cause a couple of issues over there at ENCE. But let's just focus here in on Vitality's for now, Prof. Do you think that a move like this is future-proofing the lineup? Because Spinx is pretty young and he's a star player. They're not just bringing in another name here to supplement what they have. This seems like a pretty clear sign of intent.
I mean, feels like Spinx is on course to be like a top 20 player this year, and that is for a player that kind of had no experience before ENCE in terms of like big teams is a really good sign. And the way he plays is kind of I always kind of compare him to like a hunter because it feels like he doesn't do anything but then has 40 kills, and that's a player I feel like you can fit on a lot of teams. Of course, you have to give him what he wants to play to some degree, but he's also not like overbearing, takes over the whole team, and you need to play around him like super in depth. I feel like in ENCE he was getting some space, but like everyone on that team got space. So I feel like it's a great signing. I don't know if it's gonna like instantly click for Vitality and make them a super good team because they had issues. I think communication was a big issue and will probably continue to be to some degree. Maybe even just like the kind of the clashing philosophies. But I think it's an upgrade, and it should make them like consistently better, like a playoff contender consistently. I feel like if they're not that, then like blow it all up.
Yeah. Do you think this is enough, Kassad? Right?
No.
Should this still?
No, I
This is
think
enough?
it's
Okay.
I think it's a very good move. I think it's actually the best move almost they could have made, right? Spinx is another potential superstar. You said it nicely. He's going for the top 20 this year. He deserves to be top 20. He is playing like an absolute beast. He's a super good. He's going to add value, a lot of value to this team. He's a playmaker again by his own terms in a way. He's not like going to the design plays and everything like that. He's much better in like creating opportunities for himself and on his own terms. So that's a very positive thing right now. The thing that I've been talking for a very long time is like, if you want to be a successful organization, if you want to be successful in this kind of business, you need to have players being in their best peak performances right now. And I think the next on the line, if they want to be a true championship contender, is getting another player, another aggressive player instead of Dupree. Dupree is another Hall of Fame, player that achieved amazing stuff in his career, but as many other players right now in some teams, and he has an expiration date. And I think it's coming up soon. He's still going to be valuable in other teams as well. But Vitality is an organization that has Zonic, that has now Zaivu, and obviously Spinx, and they're going to be gunning for those titles. I think they're just one change of way for becoming a contender, like a real contender, like FaZe, for example, and NAVI today. So they're still going to be dangerous. Don't get me wrong. Dupree still can show up and he can still deliver in a certain level, but on a constant level, I don't think so. And I believe that in the very near future, that will be the next change, next swap for the Vitality, and that's what's going to make them a top contender for the championships.
It's a weird one here because like this is another team that we had high hopes for at the start of the year, and now we've definitely tempered those hopes. But this is a team with fucking Zaiwu in it, striker, right? Like,
I think that's that honestly is the the biggest selling point for me is that ZywOo is going to get one more player that is more reliable than misutaaa and Apex, because those two people, I think, were very, very unreliable in the past 6 months. Like, you just never knew what you were going to get out of them. A lot of the time they were just, doing relatively random moves in the middle of rounds, giving away advantages and stuff like that. And like, for me to see a player that's actually going to be a strong performer to go alongside ZywOo, like, that's already a big win for me as far as Vitality goes, because like now you actually have 4 people that can put up the numbers, or even like, okay, Apex can have his games, obviously, but from a game to game basis, you actually have 4 people who are capable of being pretty consistent. I don't know what's happening with all the cameras, but I'm hoping it's going to be okay, because everybody's kind of like dropping in and out. Yeah, we just kept dropping in and out like one by one, but it's all good. So I am excited about Vitality getting another consistent player, because I don't think Spinx is going to have any massive issues fitting into this team. I think he's shown already that he can fulfill. He's not necessarily a player that is set in his ways in a way that he only plays one role. Exactly. Like, he doesn't play only one role. Like, I think we've seen that on ENCE already, that he's moved around into more aggressive roles from more passive roles, and he clearly made it work. It was something that unlocked him even to a degree. So like, that is something that I'm really I think I'm super sold on. I think that's definitely going to make Vitality better. Are they going to be that team that we maybe expected at the start of the year? I'm not sure. Like, it's you can never tell at this point, especially when you have FaZe and Navi being at a level that they are now. But they should be closer to like title contenders, semi-final team, at least consistently.
Yeah, team's gonna have a lot of catching up to do to catch up with the Navis.
I mean, also the Magisk IGL angle feels like that's also definitely an option for this team
in the future for sure. Yeah, isn't Magisk only like 23 or something? What did I say? I swear we did this the other day.
He's 25 or 6, I believe.
24.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I feel like
that's also on the cards, especially with the Zonic connection. If things don't work out with this year, I feel like Apex could be his kind of death and Vitality.
End of the road.
Yeah.
End of the road.
Okay. Do we want to jump from Vitality here, guys, into ENCE, the team that this is directly impacting here?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, when I heard the Spinx stuff at the start, I was like, nah, it's probably not going to happen. And then I just kept hearing the Spinx stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is going to happen. And then I was like, well, ENCE were a team who are going into this, who a lot of people were saying could probably use a roster change. Maybe the results that they had so far were a bit misleading. The tail end of the season for them wasn't fantastic. Maybe they could have used a roster change, but it didn't seem likely going into the player break, because they had a pretty decent run of things as well. On the flip side, right, they had overachieved from what I think their expectations were. But then this whole situation happens, right? And Spinx, their star player, is looking to get poached. And to me, it kind of feels like they've gone on the attack, right? They come into the player break, probably don't want to make any changes. Vitality come with all this fucking money that they have, offer Spinx anything. And then you find yourself in a scenario where you maybe may as well make changes, right? So Hades is gone, right? He's benched, right? He's not really, he's just benched. So now they need an AWPer. The rumor is Sampius. And then the question is, who is going to replace Spinx, right? And so this is all kind of got thrown into motion, and then that obviously affects Movistar Riders. They're probably completely fucked now. But Sampius here for Hades as a move in itself. What do you make of that, Kassad?
Well, it was I love everything about ENCE. That's the first thing. The way they run their organization and the way they set up everything in the terms of structure is just very healthy. And I think the results that we have this season, and even the old ENCE with Alexi and Sergey, it was just a proof of that people there, including Natu and everybody else who are involved, and I think they're doing a very good job. And as long as they do that, they're going to be fine. They did a good job understanding that they cannot keep Spinx. Like they took the role of this smaller team that's going to be selling their star players into the bigger the teams with more money, and that's fine. Going for, to answer your questions, to go into Hades and Sampius thing. Obviously, Hades is not a bad op. The problem was consistency, and if you want to be constantly a top tier team, you need to have a consistent AWPer. He couldn't deliver that, and ENCE as an organization recognized that, even though they extended his contract just on the major, was it? And it was an announcement and everything. They understand that you cannot continue with an AWPer who is not consistent. So we're gonna make a change. The next in line, I wish they went for somebody, like I said previously, like hallzerk. And I think there was a lot of value in that. I think he would be free agent as well, in a couple of
You would
weeks.
take Zerk over
Yes,
Sunfires.
100%. So I know it seems crazy because of the current state of Zerk right now, and he wasn't playing so good, and Sunfires was on fire and everything that. But yeah, like I said, he falls into this category of players who deserves second chances. And I think as soon as he gets a good second chance, he's gonna deliver, and everybody will see how good actually he still is.
Man,
The same, I know it's a rough out there, but I do believe the same thing goes for a player like Valde. And Valde is the most obvious choice for ENCE right now as a secondary rifle. But before we skip to that, I do agree that that Sunfires was definitely an upgrade for ENCE, especially in terms of the CT side. He has a lot of impact. We saw that the T side wasn't so great, but that's why they have a really good coach in So, who can implement the system, and he can work with him to get more impact on the T side. So overall, really good pickup, and I am giving it like a thumbs up there. So the question remains, the rifle. I know the unknown name right now they're thinking about, but I think the most obvious choice would be Valde, because he's the type of the player that can play multiple roles, and he's very good, and he also falls into a category of the second chance players. And he has a connection with Snappy. He is a Danish player too, so it can work on multiple fronts. So
or they played together. They played together in Heroic at some point.
Yes,
very early on in Valde's career. That's
Yes.
like super early on when we first heard about him, I think.
Isn't this kid from Sprout, the Romanian kid, is it Lonks?
Lonks. Not
yeah.
happening.
Not happening?
Not happening.
Okay.
No.
Well,
I heard several times that there was Longs. Well, Faven was kind of like a first target, but I mean, they would never fucking sell Faven, and I'm not sure that he would necessarily go. And then Longs was another one, and then FASHR was another name that they were looking into, and none of them worked out. Like obviously FASHR is now in Fnatic, and Longs is just not leaving Sprout apparently. And so like the rumors have almost died out, but now we're hearing some more names, but none of it's like the ENCE haven't really signed anything as far as I know.
But they've got till Pro League, right?
Yeah, they have
the Pro League lineup deadline.
Yeah, the deadline for Pro League is 16th, I want to say.
Okay, so
I think it should be the 16th. So they have a week to sort it out, and they have like some options after that. Obviously, there's always the option of bring Hades back for an event if you really can't, or whoever maybe not Hades if you get some bias, but obviously if you can't get a replacement for Spinx, you have to sort it out some way. But yeah, they have a week to figure it out, and they have some.
A massive blow, though, right? This whole thing, right? Like, even if they went into the season with the same roster they had, and maybe they didn't achieve as much as they did in the first half, like at least they would have had a chance to try. Like, I don't know if that's good or bad now that I've said it, but like Spinx getting taken away.
Look, I think
it's great for Spinx, no-brainer decision. Same for Sunfires, both no-brainer decisions for them to go for those changes. But it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This feels a little weird to me.
It's curious because I think if you're ENCE and you're heading into this off season, like let's say the Spinx move isn't happening, like he's not going to Vitality, this would be such an ENCE move to do, to just get some bias for Hades, because it's an obvious improvement. Like it's the sort of Madden for Dodo, like at the start of the year, where they go for, like they see something and they go after it because they know that it's an upgrade. They don't care that
that's how you do business.
6 months.
I mean,
exactly. Like I really respect that, really do, because it just shows their willingness to take risks just to get better, even though they've already shown that they can get good results. They didn't get super high on those couple of on that run of top 4 finishes, because they just see that they can be even better than that if they make this move. So like that would have been a fucking sick ENCE lineup again. That would have been a super good move, even though maybe people would have criticized it again for maybe being too early. But clearly they have some good people making the decisions. But the problem is, they had Vitality, take their star away, and that is a huge fucking blow to that team for sure.
Yeah.
I think, I also just want to say, like, respect for the ENCE pickup strategy, and just compare that to like a team like G2, where everything seems to, where everything needs to go to shit for the roster change to come in.
Yeah.
Like these guys are like, okay, this is a good player, but this is a better player, and we're gonna make this change. Of course, they also have players that are not as expensive, so they're kind of moving a player out is easier. But I'd argue like team like G2 has more ability to do this because they have more money to do it, and they should like for example, why wasn't Madden a player that they signed to G2 instead of Jax? Why didn't that happen?
I
would've
asked the
made
same
sense.
question multiple
Why
would've
didn't
made
that happen?
sense.
This was an obvious move, and it didn't happen. And ENCE got him. Like,
But
ENCE.
let's see if we can find a solution for this. Do we think that Natu has any impact on the day to day with stuff like this? Like, if I had Natu in my org, I would go to him and I'd say, "Listen, as someone who's actually fucking played Counter-Strike, right? Like, do you for years, right? This is the thing as well. Like, Natu's been playing Counter-Strike
I mean,
forever.
he is involved, but the there's a GM which name, who makes these moves most of the time, and he's like the main guy behind it. So props to him. Natu obviously is involved and has experience and has pull with players and everything, but this is the dude that is pulling making the actual moves. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got lots more roster changes to get through here, boys. So should I keep us going?
Yeah, we should maybe
we can speed it up a bit through some of these next ones. Okay, so the next one is just about Godby and tabseN signing until 2027. That's a long time.
No, that's also a G2 thing that was kind of on the cards, but wasn't actually. It feels
like
like
tabseN to G2.
Yeah,
I think but I think that this is just big, just going, well, no, that was never going to happen, and guess what? It's definitely not happening now, right? This is a statement of intent for them. For Godby and tabseN to both be there for another 5 years is fucking insane. 2027, 3 years away from 2030. Fucking put us all in the grave. Holy shit. But realistically speaking with this here, that doesn't mean they're going to be actively coaching or playing in 2027 necessarily, right? You know, maybe they have some position that, or we've seen Godby float around when he retired, right? And then he went to Valorant, and, you know, so there's opportunities for these guys to float around. Is there anything else exciting about this news, or should we just keep moving?
I mean, we have to point out that it's a very smart move by Big, because, like, you know, the tabseN is the glue that's, you know, keeping them together, because the ideology behind that organization, they have the German team, you know, and the best German player is tabseN by far, you know, and signing him for a 5-year deal, and that's going to keep Big very competitive, like in terms of, you know, the events and everything. So they're not going to be the championship, but they're going to be a decent team as they are right now. If that didn't happen, I don't know what would happen with Big. So 5-year deal, it's very respectful towards tabseN, because, you know, if he could have actually chosen any team that he wants to join, he could be a potential replacement a year and a half from now for FaZe and karrigan. He can also go to EG, could have as well, different teams, and also mousesports, you know, and so different teams, different options for him to build on his legacy and win some titles. He opted out to be loyal, which is very respectful, and I can, you know, all you can say is good luck, and let's see what they can do in the next 5 years.
Okay. Nice. All right, let's jump into talking about the rest of the field here. There's definitely some teams we skimped over, but they're teams who didn't make changes. I think we've spoken about them in the past. And we're also going to do another show before Blast, so we'll have an opportunity to talk about that. Blast is next week, right? Yeah, Blast is next week. So plenty of time to discuss some of those names. Now, let's get into a bit more of the meat of some of these changes. Sprout, they have removed Rouse and Spiddy. Spiddy had been there for fucking ever. So they need 2 more players around side of Stare. You've obviously got Lonks in there, and I'm missing a name from fucking Sprout. Slacks, who's the AWPer. Yeah. So they have Barry, the coach. So I'm curious to see what they do here. To see Spiddy and Rouse go is interesting. Do we know, is there any, I'm looking to you here again, Striker, is there any, you know, word on the street? I heard a rumor about Xiphon to Sprout, maybe?
Yeah, Xiphon has been, like, that name has been out there by a couple of outlets. I can't remember which ones at the moment, but they definitely a name that that seems to be joining Sprout. The last one hasn't really been
leader.
There's a couple of, like, NBK was rumored, but now there's another rumor. I think there was there
Falcons is a rumor alongside of
I don't want to say stuff because I'm not sure what was out and what I heard randomly. But there is another Danish player that wasn't.
Refresh?
Yeah, that was a name.
But
that was like
look at the face.
That was a name.
Yeah.
But he's not going to in-game lead, is he? Like, who's going to in-game lead the team?
No, that would be like IGL. Yeah, for
Do you need like a Cillian?
No, Refresh as IGL was.
Oh, Refresh as IGL.
Yeah.
Yep.
I missed that.
So.
Okay.
That's kind of but that seems like a kind of very like future talent team.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's missing an actual IGL.
Right.
Because that could be like the downfall of this. Like if this team has like a decent IGL, you feel like, okay, it's a good farm team, which Sprout is. Like take the seed, they plant it, and they get like a plant, and then it goes somewhere else.
Yeah, that's
and
a
with,
It's actually
right.
funny that they branded
Yeah.
that way too.
with
Crazy. The thing is, like, I don't like that organization at all. I don't like the way they operate, but the idea of moving on from being a big second academy team to actually being an international team with some talents is definitely better, because previously team they were just, the big was just taking players off them, and they really,
Well, now it's gonna be ENCE and whoever else, and you know,
well,
like you.
yeah.
now
I
they
don't
can
think
sell to
I don't-
multiple teams, so they have like more. Yeah, they have.
Yeah, I don't
bargaining
think they
there.
thought this. Like, if this was the business decision, let's move international just so we can avoid big. And there's like G2 and ENCE and then whatever.
At least you get
bunch of
more
other
money.
international teams. Yeah,
True.
that's fair.
You will get some more
Yeah.
money. You won't get bullied as much as well. But look, someone in chat is saying Refresh on a Danish podcast said he had his future 90% done. Doesn't really mean anything because it doesn't tell us where or anything. It just says. So thank you for the information, Nuke Ministerin. But that doesn't really help us
That's
a lot.
Zipex. That's definitely a Zipex fan.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump forward here. The Titans have been unveiled.
Let's fucking go.
With the logo,
Oh.
with the logo that might go down as heroic copycat a little bit. This is MSL's team with Oscar and Sunny. And they have now been announced, but they've been working for some time with different iterations. Now they're just public. And do we think these guys will make the RMR? I guess that's the question.
Oh, I think, Chad, if you reassemble a lineup, you can do a rematch of 2015 and beat the Titans again.
Okay, let's see.
That's how they.
I'll make the phone calls.
Honestly feel like they might sneak into the European RMR for some reason.
There's 32 slots.
There's a lot of slots, right? I feel like they might sneak in this time.
I mean,
Surely.
the problem I see is that this team has had names big enough to be better than they are, but they've just not done anything for the year and a half that they've been together. Essentially, this is an entirely different team now. Yes, now they're official, and I don't know how much that changes.
They
because
actually got the proper support. Sorry to cut
Well,
you off, but the thing is that they got the proper support,
and they can
now
talk
they're
about
official, and they can talk about it. It's official. Oscar is not playing bad. When he was in that, what's that team?
Sinners.
He was insane, right?
Yeah,
he was
but he's been with this team for a year
numbers.
now, or like almost.
Yeah, but when you are not a partnership team where you don't have the ESL points, it's kind of hard to get into that. But that's another subject. Anyway, they have 3 players, but I feel like they need some fresh, young, Spinx type of players to join that team to actually
Super and
make it to the
Nodios, right? The two around them.
Yeah, Super was a talent. Now he's not anymore, and the other person I don't know who is. But they need
Danish guy.
Like
those 2 slots. They needs to be filled with some super talented kids, and then they can get to the RMR.
But see, the thing is, there's like names available, right? So it's just, I guess, about them making some changes, but at the same time, they just got unveiled. So let's wait and see what happens with MSL's project. Okay, Jax is rumored to be joining Heat and replacing Lucky. But Heat were like all the rage for a little while last year, weren't they? Prof, wasn't everybody like on the Heat hype train for a while? And we're like, oh shit, yeah, fuck yeah, and then it didn't happen.
Never really got on that hype train. I never got on that hype train.
Never got on
they
it?
had a bit of a run there at the RMR, right? They almost beat
Jocko
Stralis.
was killing people. They were doing some
They
things.
could have been something. They could have been a contender, but they weren't.
What about with Jax?
It's a decent upgrade, but maybe. But is it really?
I'm looking at their stats as a team.
I'm not a Jax believer. That's just
You're not a Jax believer?
I'm not a Jax believer. I don't know what he's gonna like add to this team, which is still they have.
Jax, numbers.
Is Jax the new body?
Do you think he's gonna add much?
No. I think he's gonna. First of all, I think he's a very positive influence in the team.
Okay.
Jax has a personality, because I know the guy for a long time, and Nico and Hunter, it's like nothing but the best words for the guy in terms of influence as a personality, right? When we go to the server, it's a little bit of a different story. He has his qualities, he has his flaws, right? But if he gets into his roles that he is comfortable with, he can shoot people. He can shoot sharper than a lot of
I think
players
it's
right
like
now.
he will now go back to like a French-speaking roster, and I feel like that's gonna help him as well. Like
Big factor.
That is a factor that, like, I don't know how long he was in G2, but his English was never amazing. So
I mean, it's been 3 years since they went to the international, so that's a long time.
So that can they be like a top 20 team? Can they make the major? Like very borderline for me. Like
I mean, they've been
they
like
can make
in the
the
top
RMR.
30 for a long time. So I think that's like RMR level for sure. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Well, if 9Z is top 20 right now, Force is top 20 right now, they can be top 22.
Yeah, I mean, they're
I
top
think so.
24 at the moment. So they're like obviously somewhere in that area.
Yeah. Okay, what about this one here, Striker? FASHR to Fnatic. Now, Heat was there temporarily, right? They picked up FASHR. Why didn't they go for an in-game leader? Why didn't they try and get an Alexi? Why didn't they try and get an Azza? Why did they end up here? They want to invest in this Mezzi in-game leader project, you
I
think?
mean, apparently, yeah. I think there was a comment from Karn about on the Discord that was kind of flying around that they
Are you a
talked to-
member of the Discord?
No, I actually I'm not. But I should.
Would you like to
be
become
honest.
a member?
Are you offering me something here?
I'm
or-
sure we can get you a link to the Discord, and maybe,
Well, I'm sure.
maybe
I mean,
you
is
could
this
join the
isn't this
Discord.
isn't this just a fan thing like that anybody can
I
join?
guess.
Whatever.
Yeah, maybe we could all join the
there you go.
Discord.
so they just join the Discord.
I don't know if I'm missing a joke here or if there's
No,
I don't know what's
it's
happening.
like I just was genuinely curious if you were in the Discord.
No, I
or
actually
not.
wasn't. I actually wasn't, and I probably
Okay.
should be because Karn is actually kind of active there in terms of sometimes putting things into perspective and just getting some information out there. So I probably should be. I'm probably not doing my job well enough because I'm not there. Because there's been some interesting comments, which is that Alexi was actually being at least talked to, maybe not considered
Okay.
necessarily, but they talked to Alexi, and Karn basically said that it's not happening at this point because I don't know. The wording was kind of like Karn, like a little bit PR like, but basically he did confirm that it's not happening. And they've also kind of doubled down on this Mezzi thing. Apparently they do like his transition and they do like where it's going. And obviously, with this FASHR signing, that is a pretty big commitment into Mezzi continuing this role. So yeah.
So crazy. It's so bad, dude. Like
I didn't like it at first
the
either.
thing is, like, it seems like a last resort type of thing. We have a deadline to fill in, and who we're gonna get? It's FASHR. All right, let's go. Like,
I think FASHR is a good
I mean,
player.
FASHR
No, I don't think he's
FASHR
a
is
bad player.
really
No,
good
no,
in
no,
2022.
no.
He's had a great
He's
year.
not a bad player, but
Just not the
he's a
player they needed.
Yeah, exactly. For me, the Fnatic lost their identity completely as an organization in the CS department. Like, if you think of Fnatic 20 years back and throughout the whole 22 years.
20 years.
20 years back, right?
20 years, okay.
Yeah. And you think of Swedish players, right? All the time, Swedish lineups, everything is happening around the Scandinavian lineups. Right now, they are floating in the middle of nowhere. Well, first, it was Brolan that left, then now the Krims is 28 years old. He's all alone on this Swedish island, right? And then I have Mezzi, who is a super talented player, like really super, he can be a superstar. He can be a value to any team right now, including FaZe. Like, that's how good he is right now.
Messi should 2G2 as IGL in 6 months.
Messi is super good, and he's worth a lot of money right now. If I am Fnatic, I go back to my roots because Sweden is similar to Fnatic, is losing their identity. They're not having any kind of new players coming up right now. If I'm Fnatic, I sell Messi for a shitload of money, and I try to get Hampus from that toxic pit, whatever is happening there, and I try to get that Daniel DGL coach, who is pretty good, I believe, and I try to build something around there. Maybe if Brolan can come back as well and try to build something around there, because I believe Hampus is improved tremendously as an IGL, especially when he was working with DGL. And I think that Fnatic needs to go back to their roots, needs to go back and reclaim their identity, even when they were playing in a weaker lineups. In the times when they brought in Brolan and they had all these like swaps, the godsend, and the going back, they were always strong. They were always contenders. We remember them winning IEM.
Isn't it impossible for them to like to contend with an IP now, just in terms of the money?
It is now. It's too late. They need a time machine.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, sell Messi. Get a lot of money for Messi. He's worth that money. There are organizations that would pay money for Messi as well, because he's the future right now, and he's one of the most underrated players. I don't think he has enough praises.
Messi to ENCE.
And yeah, why not? But I don't think ENCE can afford him for that much money that he's worth right now. And try to regain your identity for Fnatic. Right now, you're just floating nowhere. They might end up on RMR, but
they'll be in Pro League, right? Because they're a partner team.
And that's it.
I think the thing is, like, this is a bit more of an exciting roster. Like, I'm not sold on the in-game leadership Mezzy thing. Like, but I think Roy Nikadar is cool. That gets me excited. I still haven't lost faith in Crims. And then FASHR is a good player. So they have a team of good players. It's just how much they can get out of them. That's going to be the real question.
Like, there's really no like, unless Mezzy just like drops off the cliff, you know, or something. Like, there's no weakness in this team if you look at it. Like,
well, the weakness
all
is he has
players.
to in-game lead.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying. Like,
it's not about his fragging though. Like, he could still be fragging okay, and they could just be bad. Like, and that could just be lack of direction or whatever, right? Like, there's also not a lot of experience for, like, the player with the most experience in this team is Crims. Then the next most experienced is Roy, right? FASHR's only played for Ecstatic. Really, or the Fuse kids, right? If we want to talk about like some local teams.
Actually, a really old team as well, by the way.
Nikadars, yeah, they're not young.
26 on average, crazy.
He doesn't have a lot of experience, right? And then, you know, you add Mezzy into the mix, who's mainly been playing UK Counter-Strike, had the Cloud9 situation, and then now he's here with all this responsibility. So the question is, like, kassad, you'd know Mezzy better than most. Does he have the capability to do it?
No. I don't think he has he's not a captain type of personality, right?
I can see that.
He is a killing machine type of personality, right? He's gonna go into the server. No matter who comes to him, he's gonna destroy them, right? He's gonna deliver frags. He's gonna deliver numbers. He's gonna listen to your every word. He's gonna listen to the strats, and he's still gonna deliver on everything. But he's not the material to be the IGL. At least I believe so. For Fnatic is the question, where are we going with this lineup? You said it at 26 years old. Like, where are we going? Like, the lineup is scattered all over. It's an international
Fnatic have
lineup.
only just realized something is wrong, kassad. So the organization have literally only just realized something is wrong, right? Like, we literally had Khan on this show.
Reference. Yeah,
we had Khan on this show. He had no idea there was anything wrong with his Counter-Strike team. Like,
well, then he's not doing a very good job, is he?
Yeah, but that's the
this
we
is
got
a bit
that impression.
Kind of out of context, kind of memeing, but also some truth there.
No, but like we had him on the show to talk about like why the team is bad, and like we didn't learn a lot, to be honest. Like, I don't know if Prof or Striker learned a lot on that episode. I feel like I learned less. Like, I came out knowing less.
That no one knows what's going on or how to fix things. That's kind of what I learned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of a common thread.
Where are we going? Look at the lineup that is. Like, you have the Hall of Famer, Crims. Is he going to be able to play in this lineup? You have Mezzy. So where are we going? Like, what's the direction that we are taking in a year from now? Where do we see ourselves in 6 months?
I got the solution. I have the solution, kassad, to solve all your problems. SK comes back. Ooh. They take Hampus, Rez, and Brolin. They add it in with Crims
and Forest.
And then we get Device.
Yes.
There's your team.
I would sign for that thing to happen.
There we go. There's
that thing is like,
and then you wake up
tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Move away. I honestly think
I'm with kassad though. Like,
I feel like this
long-term
lineup. This lineup, they have 5 great players. Like, not great, like top 5 in the world.
Like, all solid.
All of them are pretty good. But they need to actually deliver in the next 6 months. Like, they need to do something good because they're super kind of.
What's the good for you? What is the passable?
Get back in the majors cycle
to get the contract. Oh, sorry,
to get the renew contracts. But like, we're not going to renew contracts. If they do well, they're going to sell players.
So basically,
or if they like, they're going to either sell Mezzy or they're going to sell Nikadars. They're now a farm team. They're like a better Sprout.
Well, it's a good thing for the most respectable organization and with the biggest brand in the world. They're the bigger brand than EG and NAVI.
But what else do you
they're
think
allowing themselves to drop like this?
They sold Brolan, who's like their biggest asset, to their biggest competitor.
Yeah, who made that call?
Yeah,
I mean, they knew what was going on. They said like, okay, we can't do this anymore. This is not our thing.
Oh, you think
they're just
the
gonna
writing's
get random
on the wall.
people and hope for the best.
I think what's Prof saying is the writing. Fnatic have acknowledged the writing was on the wall and they couldn't compete. Like, saying what you're saying about they lost the Swedish battle, right? As soon as NIP had the academy team first, it was over. It was like, oh, this is, and it's always kind of been like that for Fnatic.
Really? I think Brolan being sold was definitely the final nail in the coffin. I also think like Hampus signing, Knock signing, all of these that happened, that Fnatic was like, I'm gonna take a nap over here.
But just imagine how
I was like,
Crims
oh my
feels.
God, Hampus is signed. I can't believe this.
Imagine how Crims feels. He spent that in Fnatic for a long time. He re-signed the contract, and then all of a sudden, the organization that he signed for, and he has like plans to do something. They sell his best teammate, the best player in the team. They sell it to the most the biggest competitor, like you said. And how does that play in Crimson's head? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, to be
here?
fair, like at some points you can't really do anything. Like it's unless you're an unreasonable organization that has like very skewed buyout clauses in the contract. Like at some point you can't do anything other than let them go for that money.
But yeah, but
If NIP comes in and says we're going to pay. Okay, show me the contract. Tell me what this buyout is, and they say, okay, it's 800,000. Okay, we'll give you $1 million. Just and so I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying whatever. We're going to match the buyout that the contract says. Like at that point, like what are you going to do if you're Fnatic? Brawler wants to go, and IP wants to pay the money. That's over. Like you can't.
Well, I sit down and I put my $1 million on the table and see what I can do with my $1 million.
Well, yeah, of course.
How can I turn my $1 million into $2 million?
Well, they could have bought all of Copenhagen Flames, but instead they did this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can criticize like what moves they did leading up to that led to Brolin not wanting to be with that organization and them like deteriorating. But that Brolin's departure itself,
like outside of the identity thing. So let's say $1 million were on the table for Brolin, like we think we are, right? How much did it cost Cloud9 to get the Gambit roster?
Yeah, no idea. But that's the thing. You could have got
kind of not a lot. Let's just say that. I think it was not a lot. Yeah.
So that was the idea right there. You want to shift like from Swedish into international. Maybe you get the CIS team, the Gambit, the young team. 20. What are they averaging? 21, 22.
Pretty young, yeah.
And that is $1 million. You even sell other players. Like let's say you sell Messi and you sell Crims and you sell Brolin and you get more than $1 million.
Yeah. Or you do like Copenhagen Flames thing.
You round up your brain trust in Fnatic, right? And then you say like, okay, we have this $2 million right here, 1.5, and what do we do with it? What is the best team that we can buy? And then some guy with some knowledge says, okay, these Gambit guys are for sale. Let's switch up our identity a little bit. Let's go into a different type of mentality and culture, and we get this team who is a winning team, who is a team that's on the rise, that's a championship team, and we get them for way less than $2 million. They have been on a fairly low salary in Gambit. We all know that. You can offer them a little bit more. We know you can because you're Fnatic, and that's how you go. Instead, what they did, they took $1 million for Brolin, and then it was a disaster, right? Remember the Pro League season where they came in the 3 stand-ins and the Poison was playing, and it was a mess. And now I don't see any bright future for this lineup too.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that I'm like. Just to play devil's advocate, I don't think Fnatic would have been super comfortable going to the CIS region because they have no standing there. Like I don't remember if they ever had.
Well, Nordic Cloud9 though, right? Like
what?
And Nordic Cloud9.
No, of course, yeah, but I mean Cloud9 are more the team that is just willing to go do whatever, and just
also
go
for
the biggest thing.
Americans against Russians kind of thing.
Yeah, of course, obviously, that's also something, but it's just like. Fnatic have like several teams that are international, and so for them to go into international waters, that made a lot of sense instead of going into a CIS team that you can't really brand around because you have no standing in Russia or whatever like that. And those are things that obviously played into that decision.
But
like,
if this is the alternative, then I would go that way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, like if you want to be competitive, that was the team to get. There's no question about it.
They missed the boat on that one. But we'll see what happens. And we're meant to be talking about FASHR. So FASHR, wish you luck at Fnatic. You're a good player. We'll just see what happens with the team.
He's had a great 2022. Just to say that.
We can we got a couple here, and I want to get to some questions from the viewers for Kassad here. So there's just a couple more on the way out the door.
Okay.
I'll quickly run over these. So Falcons looking to get MBK and misutaaa in place of quals and Kyojin, which is interesting for Falcons. They're going to have like Python over there. I think it's Hadji and Maka. So the French scene is getting stronger because of these changes, I guess, if we want to find a framing for it.
And they're getting back players that have been in international teams. So.
So a bit more experience coming back in. Movistar Riders are looking to plug the hole that Sampaias is living with a guy called Martinez, SA. It's like his name. It's his name. You guys can look at it on HLTV. And then this last one here is Cuban joining Apex alongside a JL. JL was there at Mad Lions, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yes.
And
now he was kind of not exciting for a long time, and then he actually became good. Like I looked at his stats. His stats are kind of like 1.20, 1.18 rating. It's like, oh, something's going on here. So I thought it was kind of a shit move, but now I'm willing to like see if there's something there. Because he also worked with Kuben and
yeah, I think that the reason why he is there is because he worked with Kuben, right?
Yeah.
Apex as an organization is a very rich organization. Like they have a lot of money, and that's 100%, a fact. Now they went for this. I like the idea of what they did. They hired the coach, right, and they allowed him to pick the player, right. Now they trusting the coach to do the right move. Like, is it going to be the right move? Maybe not. We don't know, right? But the idea of hiring a coach before you hire new players is something that I'm a big fan of, right?
Seems very basic to me, but like we still need to point it out. I feel like
I mean, it's I'm just looking. Never mind. Just go back into that. The thing is, like they did a natural, healthy thing for their organizations. Now it is a pressure or on Kuben to get the right lineup into the right spots and try to make Apex from a tier 3 team to a team that possibly can qualify for the RMR and have a decent chance coming into the major, because we have seen weaker teams qualifying for the majors from European scene. So why not Apex? So all they need to do is add IGL right now, and it's a chance that's Aaron again, because of the connection with Jacob, right, who is still there. I don't know now. Don't hold me for it, because I usually don't ask players like that I'm talking to. I'm not asking them, like who we're gonna get or what are you doing. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. That would be the logical move for them. And
wait, sorry, who are you saying?
Aaron.
Oh, okay.
So I think that would be a good replacement for a Cillian and a massive upgrade in the fragging department as well. And he knows Jacob, and they're very good friends. And I think they work well together, and that would be a good move. But the whole thing, like I said, coach before hiring players is the right move, and I give it like a double thumbs up, on that one.
I think Alexi could be in the conversation for an in-game leader here as well, right?
Yeah.
If there's lots of money.
I was just going to say it was interesting. It would have been an interesting move because it's still, international. It's kind of like an obvious place to go. Obvious, a big step down in terms of competitiveness. But then again, Apex has bigger ambitions, at least moving forward. So I think could be a place. Yeah. I mean, there's Alex's somewhere again, like in that discussion, some of these names that we've already talked about when we were talking about international teams.
I want to reply to a guy. This is a question that I don't know if any of you guys have the answer to. This guy's name is USSR 1 Moscow Germany 0 underscore Moscow.
It's starting off very well.
So
I just want to get this reply before we finish the show. He said Blast is online. Enjoy online CS. To all the delusional guys who said it will be on LAN, haha. Source Nico Instagram claiming he's doing content. Does anybody know if Blast groups are on LAN or online?
They're LAN. Wait, these Blast groups coming up?
Yeah.
They're LAN.
Okay, well there you go. I'm going to reply. I'm going to say
You're
wouldn't
wrong.
be doing content before Blast for Blast over a week out from the event.
I mean, it's in Copenhagen. It's in their studio thing.
You friend,
faithful viewer. Thank you for your comment.
Maybe it's some sort of content that they're doing on the server, like just
yeah. I mean, they do their
shootout or something. Yeah. It could be that.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Or it could be G2 doing their own content.
G2 do content all the time.
Yeah.
Stico also says tomorrow will be a fun day. He was in chat here saying hi. Dika was saying hi.
Okay.
Dika was finding all of the comments that are bad about himself and posting them on Twitter.
Stico to ENCE.
Honestly, I thought that was the move when they got Madden, but it
just never came to fruition. Okay. Yeah. So we're just talking about Apex. We're kind of finished off there, I guess. Questions for Kassad here. Let's quickly have a rifle through. I'm going to leave the floor.
We're talking about free agents and all of these things, and like who should sign who. What are the good opportunities? Like Kassad is in this like GM mode.
Yeah.
What do you think about Bad News Eagles right now? Like, should they be signed? What is going on there? Do you have any
one trick pony?
That's it.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to it. They qualified. They had a good run. They had a dream Cinderella run, and that's fine. But ever since then, I don't think it will ever repeat. And
do you think the players will go? Like some of them go to better things?
Maybe, but I don't think there is any organization that is willing to put money on them and hire them. Otherwise, they would already be signed by some serious organization. And I don't want to diminish anything that they did. It was like I said, it was an amazing run. They had a couple of they have a couple of decent players, more than decent players. But as a team, I don't think they will repeat that success in the near future at all.
Well, I think that one of the curious things here is they shouldn't need an org with like how much sticker money they probably made, right? So I'm not disputing what Kassad's saying about whether they are going to perform or if they're not going to perform, but I think it's an interesting situation for Bad News Eagles to be in, because if you just made like more money than what you would have in an org with a split off of sticker money for 6 people or however many people they had involved in their little project, you probably don't need an org. And if you can continue to qualify for the major, then you can recycle that. The problem is you lack all that support, right? Which can be a bit of an issue.
The problem is like for consistent success, you need like direction. You need these things. You need someone like forward planning, getting all of these things. I think obviously that result was so fucking good for them as players, as a team, that it is hard to expect that it's going to repeat. I feel like there is potential, especially in some of the players there. But it's a tricky thing. It's hard to sign up a team like this, like that is still at their peak. Like as you said, they don't need to sign for anyone. They're probably going to demand like a bit more than they would have, like, or they will in like a couple of months. I feel like in a couple of months maybe they settle for something that's like just an org and we can do that. While currently they feel like they have like a lot of.
They might repeat, like there is a chance they repeat the Copenhagen Flames success, to do it all over again on the major and nothing in between. So, and they end up like splitting up and going into different teams similar to Copenhagen Flames. So there is a possibility of that. I don't see it. I don't see it, and because the competition is so high right now, and these roster changes and everything that's happening, I think there's the field out there is super competitive, and it's gonna take a little more than what they did last time to actually be on the same spot.
Actually, it was just like maybe before going to the questions, just to kind of wrap up everything that we saw so far in like the transfer market for the summer. I feel like in terms of like the top 10, we didn't see. I don't think there were that many like big improvements. I feel like FaZe and NAVI are still like quite ahead of everyone, and I don't think they're gonna be like too scared of anything that happened. Like maybe magically like G2 really works, and then they're gonna be dangerous, but I don't think so. Like Vitality is like a decent upgrade.
I think Vitality is the most obvious, like by far the most obvious.
Is probably the biggest upgrade. ENCE kind of like a diagonal move. Like they upgraded one part, the other part is probably not going to be an upgrade. I think where most of the good moves happened are like the 15th or 20th to like 40th in the world, where it kind of consolidated a lot of these lineups, like Sinners, like all of these like French teams that now made moves, like Fnatic kind of finalized their roster. EG maybe having 5 players that are going to play tournaments. Like there are so many of these teams that are now going to be vying for these like spots that are lower on the top 30. That's going to be very difficult to be consistent in that regard.
Okay, let's get to some of these questions here. This one is from Sam Shadow 966, and he says, "What is Kassad's future? Being caster, or maybe something, or maybe return as a coach anytime soon?" Question mark.
But the thing is, like, I don't want to just accept anything, and the reason why I discussed it with EG is because I thought they are gonna live up to their, legacy, I guess, and that's why I consider them and joining them. And coming back to the coaching, I feel like I don't want to take any project that's not satisfying to me, that's not appealing to me. GM position is something that I'm super interested in, and I think I would get a lot of things in order in almost every team that is facing problems right now, because I just have a idea on how to do it, and I have I know how to execute it. Regarding the talent job, I love that job. Being on a desk with Yanko, with Stana, when you in the mix there, Chad, and everybody else. It's just super fun and super enjoyable, and everybody was so nice to you. Something that I didn't really expect coming into this thing, and everybody was so supportive, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And missing the major and Cologne kind of sucked for me to not be there. But you know, I was looking to work on myself, improve, but keeping that kind of job is super fun for me, and I think I would still accept any kind of invite that comes my way in terms of broadcast and stuff like that.
Okay, nice. And this is one from this isn't me, but this is in the HLTV thread called Another Sponge Stan. And they're asking the question, recently kassad said something about sacrifice to make it to the top. Can you tell us about some sacrifices? They've got in brackets here, the both of us, but you were on the road a bit longer than me towards the end there. Tell us about some of the sacrifices they had to make it into esports, or even how the current lifestyle. Oh, well, that's getting a bit convoluted now. But basically,
is he asking about kassad's sacrifices?
Yeah, sacrifices that you would have made over the time.
Well, I tweeted about all this bullshit about relocating, and I think that needs to stop. And I think if you look at traditional sports and football and every other African players and Asian players and South American players all moving to Europe, being 17, 18 years old, playing football, organizing that, it's all about these organizations providing the proper support system for the players that are moving into other continents. And it's not like, you remember that Renegades put you in a fucking hotel in Las Vegas, and that's not a support system. That's a ticket to a mental institution in about 1 year from that. So that is not support system. We had a decent support in the new Renegades lineup, where we had a house and this stuff organized, and we had a capable people at the beginning, and it was fine. So in order to sacrifice something, you have to ask for the organization to provide you a support system, like all these organizations having headquarters and facilities inside of in Europe cities, right? So not putting JKS and rush in the Airbnbs for 6 months if you're complexity, that and then having Obo just waking up one morning and skipping to his freaking flight going back home because he felt he's gonna go insane, right? So we don't want that. There is solutions for that you can Kinguin, like a facility, training facility. There was another situation where you can rent a room for your team for a full year, and then you have players there. They have all the facilities that you need, and to keep the players in a decent shape so they can build their lives slowly in Europe, going to the gym, having the normal meals, having some social life and everything else. So coming into sacrificing, what I had to do in 2016 is I had to leave my family completely. I had to leave my mother, who was alone at the time because my brother was living in a different country as well. I had to leave my girlfriend, actually broke up the girlfriend that was it was a very serious relationship, and I had to leave that in order to pursue my dreams. I sacrificed that. I came to a country that I was only twice before that, came into a house with 6 different Australians that I didn't know, and had to live with them had to live with them from day one and deal with all the problems at the same one that team was experienced, but I was getting paid for that, so I wasn't whining about that. So sacrifice that you have to make the relationships, and that's fine if you don't want to do it. Right? It's really fine if you don't want to. If you want to be committed to your family, to your friends, to staying at home, that's okay. That's not something bad. But you are sacrificing on that side the chance to be on the top of your on the top of the food chain, I guess, and chance to win the titles, to win big money. There is a very few players that can afford. Look at Nico. Nico is not living in Bosnia. He's living in Belgrade, away from his family, and he could live at home if he could. That's just one example, And I feel like the sacrifices must be made in order to compete. Look at you, Chad. I'm gonna give your example. When was the last time you went home and stayed home longer than 2 weeks? When is the last time you seen your mother?
I haven't seen seriously, I haven't seen my mum in almost 3 years, but she's coming in 8 days' time.
Chad, like my mom passed away in 2018, and there is not a day where I don't think about I sacrificed a lot of this time in building my dreams, but I wasted, I didn't have so much time to talk to her. I would trade everything now for a 5-minute conversation with her, but it's never going to happen because I decided to go to America and, do these things that I wanted to do. That was my dreams. I was a grown-ass man. I was following my dreams, and I sacrificed that. If I stayed with family, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't live the way I'm living, but I would spend much more time with my family, with my mom, and, it would be different. So there is different aspects of when it comes to sacrificing it depending on your priorities and your dreams and what you want to do. So, people saying that's bullshit. I don't think that's bullshit at all, and it's a very complex thing. And like I said, the support system that you're going to be provided from these organizations is super important, and they have to be behind you 100%, right? And you need to repay them by being professional, and being like on time and doing your best every single day on practice, being respectful to your coach, to your manager, to your organization every single time you play, every single time you practice, and that's how you repay them, and that's how you build a healthy relationship in the organization. At the end of the day, when you say goodbye, everybody is going to be remembered as a person who was super fast. You're going to get an easier contracts, you're going to get a lot more opportunities, and it all ties up together. So, like I said, in any other sports, in any other thing that you want to do professionally and be the best at a thing that you have to sacrifice. I hope that answers the guy's question.
I like it. And I think that's probably a really good place for us to leave it, because that's a good message to be putting out there, right? I think in a pursuit like this, which is an elite level pursuit, you have to make hard choices, right? And that's very clear. Okay, Kassad, thank you very much for joining us. I want to open the floor for you now. If there's anything you want to say, now would be your time.
Well, just thanks for having me. I think I enjoy this show always, and I try to watch it every time you guys are on. And it was a pleasure doing this. I hope to see you soon on some of the events. Hopefully it's soon rather than later. And thanks for all the people tuning in. And I have been receiving a lot of positive feedback and a lot of nice messages from the people that kind of share my views about the whole situation. And I want to say thank you to them as well. And have a nice night, I guess.
Nice. All right. Cool. Good one. Good stuff. And Prof, Strikers, got anything you want to say? No, looking all good. Looking all right. Cool. We're happy. That's the end of episode, what did I say, 24 of season 6. Thank you again to Kassad. Thank you again to the sponsors, Bitskins, Xtrfy, and of course, N1Bet. We'll be back sometime next week before Blast kicks off, and we'll make it all work. Have a good night, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.